All right, man. We are live here on Uncensored Live with Shaun Yurkron, Lindsey Beckham, and myself, Clay Edwards, for our third episode or fourth. I don't know why I keep calling it one off. I keep pretending Sunday was a test and it wasn't a real episode, even though it was a great episode.
It went 2 hours as well.
Not quite. Clearly, you can mark us all safe from Grok Gone Wild.
Yeah.
You know, and look, it was funny. I use Grok over ChatGPT, and I've never had any anti-Semitic or Nazi-esque issues with Grok. And that's, Shaun, that brings up a point real quick, and let's just jump straight in since we're a few minutes late. It's my fault again. I heated up a pizza, and it took about 10 minutes longer to finish cooking than it said on the instructions. But I heard, maybe I heard you say something on the show today, kind of, maybe you were being a little facetious, but it made me think about something. It was something real simple as, it was the old trope about people in Hollywood being Jews.
Yeah. That's what
it's a more anti-Semitic trope. And I'm like, is it really anti-Semitic to tell the truth? It's a lot of Jews in Hollywood that run Hollywood. That's not a trope. That's not anti-Semitic. That's just fact. I mean, why is it, quote unquote, anti-Semitic? Anti-Semitic, I've noticed, has replaced the word racism.
It is. And yeah, it definitely, that's a good point. It really has.
Racism to death. And they realize, well, people don't give a shit about being called racist anymore. We'll call them anti-Semitic. This is the new, y'all, you're screwed now word. I called you anti-Semitic.
I know a lot of people get praised for being anti-Semitic these days, though.
Yeah. I mean, I just think it's, if you question anything or just suggest that the Jews do anything, well, frankly, if you just say the Jews, that phrase is anti-Semitic. Dave Chappelle said it best a couple of years ago. He goes, I've learned, over the years that anytime you kind of say the Jews, nothing good ever comes after that.
That's right. I remember that. Yes, that's true.
Something to that extent. I'm paraphrasing.
No, I know exactly the line you're talking about. Right. Yeah, that's true.
And just look, admittingly, down here in the South, we just don't have many Jews.
Yeah,
we have them, I know, but we don't have many. They don't have the power as a group down here that they do in other parts of the country. So people just don't really think about it down here like they do in other parts of the country where they have bigger populations and they have more control and whatnot. So it's just never been a real thing that we've dealt with down here. At least I didn't growing up in South Jackson. Never heard about. Now, there's always, you hear about black people and the Jews not getting along, but it's like a lot of black people who are never going to make it as rappers or in the entertainment industry, somehow thinking the Jews are holding them down. There's always been like this beef between Jews and blacks, either in the entertainment industry or in the who's the real Israelites.
Yeah, that's
the people of God battle.
So I've never heard any of that. Maybe as a city just had absolutely no Jews, but that just is nothing that's ever been a conversation that I've been a part of.
Well, where that really stems from is
me either. Except I've kind of seen it in the peripheral.
Yeah, I mean, it's the record companies. Some of them were Jewish owned, and there's black artists that felt like, especially like talking about like the 50s and 60s, it felt like they were taking advantage of the record companies. I'm sure you being into music and that kind of industry, you might have heard those stories. Like, and I don't know if I don't know. I'm not claiming they did anything. I'm just saying allegedly. You heard those things about Malaco Records and stuff from that era. I don't know if that happened, but that's just, those are, I think that's what they're referring to.
Are the people that run Malaco Jewish?
I don't know. See, I don't know if they are or not. I'm just saying like that kind of thing where it was record companies in general that they said were taking advantage of black artists, and some of them were Jewish owned. So
yeah, let me tell you, record companies took plenty advantage of white artists too.
Yeah, right.
So speaking, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, Lindsey, but speaking of old tropes, that's another one with black folks where they think it's something because it happened to them, it only happened to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like they think that record companies screwing artists over only happened to them. It didn't happen to white people. May I introduce Elvis Presley as Exhibit A?
Yeah, right.
Of white artists that also got screwed over by their management and record companies. It's like that conversation or that argument that I have with them every now and then about they think that the only families that have had to have conversations with their sons or daughters about how to act on a traffic stop are black people. Y'all don't know what it's like to have to have a conversation with your child about how to act on a traffic stop. What? Literally everybody has that conversation.
Yeah, Clay. Yeah, they do. But I disagree with you a little bit on this because I do think it's different in Black families. And I do think that the narrative has been, even though it might not be what actually happens all the time, I think the narrative has been that you've got to be so much more careful if you're a Black man and you're being stopped by the cops. And that just causes so much tension in those situations. And so I do think it's a little different in Black families. They want to make sure that they talk to their kids about it. I mean, my parents never talked to me about it.
Oh, yeah, sure. If the conversation's going, look, the media's lying, the cops really aren't trying to kill you. Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. But if it's, hey, look, the cops are trying to kill you, the media said so. No, I'm not gonna bend on this one.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get it. The media has played a huge part in that, obviously.
Yeah, and again, I know I sound like a broken record, but with Mississippi officers charged with shooting young father. Well, if you're a Black family and you read that, then, and that's the narrative you've seen, then I guess it is real to you, though, if that's the NBC is saying it. So, I mean, I could see where people could definitely believe that based on a media narrative that they're seeing all the time.
But that instills into young Black men who are not breaking the law that they have to be nervous and have anxiety about being stopped by the police. And Clay, you've said this before too. Then that puts the police on edge because they've already got somebody on edge, and the situation just escalates.
It does. I mean, it ratchets up the situation. But I just meant, generally speaking, to assume that only one group of people has to have that conversation is misguided at best. Well,
also, I wish more people of all races and whatever genders, sexes, would have that conversation, because I cannot tell you how many people I have to have a discussion with about how they do not know how to behave around police officers. Just something the three of us or most people would think would come naturally, at least your parents instilled, not necessarily referring to police officers, but I'm sure everybody's parents said respect authority figures. You can kind of learn that when you're younger. But I think in like a lot of younger folks, they feel like, well, why are the police pulling me over? And this is not a race thing. This is where I've experienced dealing with, everybody of all races about this. Like, why do I got to show my license? You do, they're like, that would not be a question that would have ever entered my mind. If I got pulled over, do I have to pull out my license? I mean, obviously that's what I've got to drive down the roads. That's why you have the license. I mean,
it's like when your parents say, because I said so.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I don't know why is that even I don't even know why that would be a point of dispute. Here's my license. Yes, sir. My dad actually, here's a conversation he did have with me. I remember this growing up. He said, and the cops pull you over, even if you don't think you did anything, just apologize immediately and just do that, and I've always done that, even if I thought I wasn't speeding.
It's better to swallow your pride.
Just say, I'm sorry.
Better to swallow your pride and be able to go home alive.
Well, or like a lot of times, if you do that, sometimes they'll let you out of it because you're nice to them. They're like, oh, look, that's nice to me.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it on the show multiple times or dozens of times. It sucks to have to get emasculated by a rude cop on the side of the road that's on a power trip. But like you just said, Lindsay, I'd rather come pout about it on Facebook later from home than be dead and or in jail.
Yeah.
But what cop deserved to act that way was the cop outside the governor's mansion.
Yeah, he did. I mean, unless we're talking about something like the goon squad or some bad cop, if a cop wants to pull you over and they're a dickhead, I don't really care. I just do what they say, hope I don't get a ticket, and move along. I mean, that's just life, I mean, that's just something I feel like that's part of life. You sometimes get pulled over by the police. And you feel like, well, I wasn't speeding or I wasn't speeding that much. This is unfair. I mean, how many times have you heard somebody say, it's not fair I got pulled over, or they should have pulled over the guy that was passing me? I just saw that in court the other day. You know what? That's part of driving. You get pulled over for a traffic violation and you deal with it.
And obviously there are some cops, there are some bad eggs out there. There are some who are on a power trip and they don't treat you fairly. Maybe they're just having a bad day, but that's every profession. There's bad lawyers out there. There's bad medical professionals out there. There's bad radio hosts out there. I mean, in every profession that you look at, there are going to be some bad apples. And I just think you can't take you just have to obey the law and then get out of that situation. I think Angela has called into the show before on Clay Show and said, you can't hold court on the side of the road. And you can't. You'll have your day in court. Just get out of that situation, and then you'll have a chance to prove whatever it is you need to prove.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're not going to win that. Like that guy in Ridgeland a few months ago that got pulled over. What do you have? Like the tint issue?
He had a lot of things going on.
Tag, and he was raising hell about that. And I'm like, dude, all you had to do was be nice. And they probably would have been like, okay, well, here's your ticket for the expired tag, bro. And here's your tint ticket, and move the fuck along. You know, like that's what would happen.
The one in Ridgeland.
That's what I said, Ridgeland. Yeah, Ridgeland.
Okay, yeah, sorry. Ridgeland, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They got blown up into crap it didn't have to be, per usual.
Yeah, I mean, it just didn't have to be. And I don't understand what I feel like and this to me is not just, I mean, trust me, the white folks I've encountered in my profession that do this too, that act like this. And I do not know why. And a lot of times I'll have people come to me and say, do you sue the cops? They'll start it out with that. I get that. Lindsay answers the phones. How many times do we get that?
A ton.
You know, and it's usually for something like this. Like, I don't think I should have had to, show my license or whatever it is, these questions people send in the website or whatever. And I'm like, no, this is not, you didn't get goon squad. You got pulled over and asked to show your license. Everybody
turns into a First Amendment auditor. When they get pulled over, and there's always something more to it. They didn't want to show their license. I bet 9 times out of 10 it's because it was suspended. They didn't have it on them.
What other reason do you have?
There's an alternative reason for not wanting to show it other than I just didn't want to.
Right. Yeah.
It's like the people who run when they get pulled over, and we always hear these about these high-speed pursuits. It was just an expired tag. Then, of course, it's never just an expired tag. It's felon with a firearm.
But I mean, what other reason would you have for not wanting to cooperate and show your driver's license other than there's something you're hiding?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why it creates probable cause immediately to search and do anything else the cops need to do.
Yeah, why would
I don't know about legally, but in my opinion, we should give automatic rights to police probable cause to do anything else they want to do.
I agree.
And you get a driver's license so you can drive on the roads. Okay, right. That's the basic reason you get the driver's license. Now you use it as ID for everything else, and I get that. But you can get a state ID if you don't have a driver's license. Anyway, so like if there's no cops to ask you for it, do you really need it anyway? Right? Are they supposed to, like, that's why you got it, so when you get pulled over, you can show it to them. Like, here's my driver's license. I mean, that's kind of one of the points.
On a side note, I can't remember if I said this between the three of us talking one day or with somebody else or just to myself on the show, but can we not just have one picture ID that is a license and an ID, whether it's a valid license or not, and you scan it and see which one it is if you get pulled over? Does it have to be distinguished between an ID and a driver's license? Literally, if you get pulled over, if the cop goes to the trouble of pulling you over, they need to run your license.
Yeah, that's it.
And it can tell them if it's valid or not, if it's a license or if it's a identification card. My point being is you always hear about people having to turn their license in when they get a DUI.
You do.
Yeah, we deal with that a lot.
Yeah, they'll take it part of the right.
You shouldn't have to send that in. You shouldn't have to go get another ID. I mean, is it just
that is an issue? I agree with you.
I agree.
Force them to have to go spend $20, $40 on an ID, whatever it is. That's ridiculous.
Sucks.
Just let that remain their ID. It defaults to an ID if it's no longer a driver's license. This seems like a fix to me.
That's the our DUI laws just are interesting when it comes to that. So like when you get pulled over, that's exactly right. The cop will sometimes they don't, they forget to do it, but generally they're supposed to take your license, give you a receipt, and that receipt is valid for 30 days. And what you have to do is you have to go ask the court that you're charged with the DUI for an extension of your driver's privileges until you've got court. Okay. So this whole time you still don't have an ID unless you get a different kind of a state ID or whatever it is. You have to, what you're saying, go through that process. And I agree, that's insane. I also think that they shouldn't be able to take your license before you're convicted of a crime. Like, I think you're charged with a crime, you're not convicted of one, but the law says they get to take your license, and then you have to ask for extensions of your driving privileges, which you haven't been convicted of anything yet. You know what I mean?
Agree.
And that's now there's, and I'm not to get off on this too quick, but people always ask me about it. So if you don't blow, then you get an automatic 90-day suspension. Okay. Well, that's different. I understand, because that's in the law. Like, you're supposed to blow if you're asked. You can deny, you can refuse to do it. But if you do, then you're gonna get that 90-day suspension. But if you do blow and you just get pulled over, you can get charged with a DUI. You're not convicted, but we're already like suspending your license privileges. It's insane. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
So,
it's a lot. I mean, look, I'm sure there's extreme cases where people are obviously drunk, and
yeah, yeah,
unfortunately, I guess the law doesn't, as long as they don't have a wreck, the law doesn't differentiate too much in that, whether you blow barely over or 3 times over.
yeah.
It's the same protocol post DUI. And, I don't know that it should be, but I guess it's a lot of gray area there. So it's just easier to have the protocol in place, one size fits all protocol versus a judgment call. So I get it, but I also see why it's a pain in the ass. And I definitely see what you're saying. Innocent until proven guilty, not guilty till proven innocent.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way it's structured. Like you're guilty, you're proven innocent, or whatever. But
Right.
actually the only thing about that, yes, if you blow over, 0.08, then it doesn't matter if you blow a 0.25, right? It just is what it is. But the only difference is that like it does. If you want to get like a non-adjudication on your first offense, if you blow like a 0.25, the judge does have discretion to be like, yeah, no, man, you were drinking way too much for, you were really that irresponsible. So I've seen that before too.
We had a huge conversation, almost a whole show about this not too long ago, and not to do with a DUI, but it was someone that they suspected was smuggling drugs or selling drugs, Shaun. And so
the forfeiture laws.
Yeah. And so they took his money. He had a whole lot of money in the car, and that made them suspicious. They took his money. Well, it turns out there was no evidence of any drugs. He was cleared of the charges. And my opinion is that was basically theft. Like they stole his property, and they had no right to do so because there was no evidence of drugs, but because they had suspicions, they were able to do that. I think that law is disgusting and wrong.
Yeah, Clay, we had a really good show, but you would have loved it. Actually, it was about civil forfeitures of what she's talking about, and about like if you're suspected of trafficking drugs, then they can seize your car and your money and all the things in the car, before you're ever convicted. Yeah, and that was a big source of. We had a lot of callers that day on that one. People were like, "This is bullshit."
Because the man was completely innocent.
Yeah, well, he was. Yeah, he didn't have any drugs or anything like that, right? And the Supreme Court overturned it. I think
but for years they had all his money.
It's out of Brandon.
I remember that. I was about to say, out here in Rankin County, and I'm talking about Rankin County Sheriff's Department in particular, they've quit advertising how much cash they forfeit on the side of the road because people they're not fans of it. People are not fans of the taking the cash stuff. And
it just seems like overreach. It seems like that does seem like tyranny and government overreach to me at the highest level.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it should be post-conviction, then they can seize it. If that money was believed to be used in trafficking drugs or the car or whatever else, that's fine. But I think there needs to be a conviction. The way we have it now, it's all pre-conviction. You can do it, and that's the rub. And like with the Lindsay taught this guy, I think it was like an Asian guy from New York, and he didn't have any drugs in the car. He had some other suspicious things that you might have thought, but all in all, he didn't have anything. But he had like $200,000 in like envelopes, like $10,000 in each envelope, and he claimed it was his life savings. And whatever his story is, like, it is what it is.
It could have been. That could have been the absolute truth. I mean, they found nothing to say that it wasn't the truth.
Yeah. So that well went up to, I think, the Court of Appeals. They reversed it. Now I think Rankin County has appealed that, or what's called a writ of certiorari, to the state Supreme Court. So there'll be another decision on that shortly, and I'm sure we'll all be able to debate what they say here.
Well, I think it's bullshit that that it's illegal to have more than $10,000 in cash on you.
Is it illegal to have more than 10? I don't even know that.
Why would it be illegal to have more?
Unless you were heading to the bank and you have a deposit slip and a bank bag and all that stuff, it is illegal to have more than $10,000 in cash on you.
Wow, that seems crazy to me. I mean, why does the government get to say how much of your money you can have on you at any given?
Taxes. I don't know. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, what if you're on the way to buy a car, from somebody, whatever.
That seems crazy to me. Shaun, you have sometimes more cash than that. I shouldn't say
Don't say that on the radio.
Sorry.
To the radio, the internet. Thanks, Lindsay.
Sorry. I'm just saying, like, what if you take a new case and you get? I'm sorry. I'm just asking here.
I hear a knock at the door right now. That's true.
Sometimes I don't think before I speak, obviously.
Okay, here I Googled it. It says there's no legal limit to how much cash you can carry within the United States or when traveling to and from the U.S. However, if you're traveling, there's always a however. If you're traveling internationally, you must declare any amount exceeding $10,000. This applies to cash travelers. Okay, so I got a little mixed up, but that is why that Chokwe and them had to fly back private
because they
or
had too
whatever.
much cash.
There was the cash. When there was some cash involved too, right?
Yeah, there was. I mean, well, there's a picture of our the DA with $50,000. I think it was. I'm
telling you, there's a thing here where they can confiscate your cash if you got too much. Maybe it's a Mississippi law.
Well, I think
that's what they did, right? We were just talking about that case in Rankin County. That's what they did. They took his cash.
Yeah, because I think like Clay, if you and I are rolling around with $100,000 in cash, then the police can say, well, that's reasonable suspicion that we're trafficking drugs because we got that much cash. That's kind of.
But if you aren't actually doing that and you prove your innocence, they've already taken it takes what? This court process is not quick. So then you do without your cash.
This is Mississippi. And I just said, how much cash are you allowed to carry in Mississippi? And it's like, comes down to civil asset forfeiture. Law enforcement in Mississippi, like in other states, can seize cash if they have reason to believe it's connected to illegal activity, even if you haven't been charged with a crime. This is a controversial practice, but it is legal. Proof of funds. If you are carrying a substantial amount of cash, especially large amount, the definition of large can be somewhat subjective, but certainly amounts well over, and here's that number again, $10,000. You may need to demonstrate that the funds were acquired legally and that you have paid appropriate taxes on them. So another one here, bank deposits, withdrawal. Financial institutions are required to report cash transactions more than $10,000. So I'm sure they picked 10,000 because of the IRS and the bank requirements. So that's kind of their mythical number here. If you got more than 10 grand, what you got that for? You know,
it's not their business. I mean,
and this is what we were just talking about. There's Jody Owens with that stack of cash right there in the boat on the FBI video, and I think it was what I read in that indictment was about $50,000. So I think that's what you're saying, Clay, that they wanted to take the private plane.
You could buy a whole cow for that.
You could. Well, he's got cash right here, and then there's more cash right. That's a lot, stick in your pockets. Yeah, I think if you went through TSA, that'd have been a problem.
Well, he's a whole damn DA, so he has to carry a little bit more cash than the rest of it.
I mean, that's an iconic photo. That's going to go down in the history of Jackson. By the way, it's just with that cash right there, and then his left or right hand on that one.
And is there something in that water, or is it just is his shirt changing the color of it?
I was just thinking the same thing. Is that like a what are those water flavor things? Yeah, that's it.
How fruity of him.
That's it. But that's a great photo. So that's why they did. I think that's why they did go through, because Chokwe, I think, probably had some cash on him too. Oh no, he got checks. Actually. That's right.
So Terry just posted in the comments a few years ago. Her son-in-law was pulled over. He had $25,000 in the car. They said it was drug money. It was overturned, but it took him 2 years to get his money back. See, I think that's insane. I think that is crazy government overreach.
I mean, we agree on this. I think they need to change. But the thing is, the problem with changing the law on it is that the legislature, now, if they do that, they're going to get law enforcement on their ass. So they don't want that. So because the way the civil forfeiture laws are now, it helps law enforcement because it funds them. So if they you get somebody in the legislature we're going to change this and make it harder for law enforcement to get this money, then people will be after their ass for that. I mean, that's just a political reality of it.
Fred Shanks, you listening?
Fred ain't doing that.
He might.
It's just, I'm just saying there's a lot of political realities with things where, you get groups on your bad side. It's not good for you. So.
Yeah.
Well, I just think right is right and wrong is wrong, and taking somebody's cash without any reason to do so when you have no evidence of any wrongdoing, I think is wrong.
Totally agree. I think most of the citizens agree, because every time we talk about this, people are like, "What the hell? That's bullshit."
I mean, look, if you got dope on you,
that's a different story.
Hit the dope and the cash, but I mean, there's not legal is not the word I'm looking for. Realistic expectations there, man. If you got a little weed on you and you got a bunch of cash, those can be those do not have to be intertwined. Right. You have a quarter bag of weed or an ounce of weed for personal use, and also happen to have $10,000 in cash. That does not mean that the cash was part of a marijuana trafficking operation. Sure. They can be, I mean, frankly, small amounts of powdered drugs and hard drugs. Doesn't necessarily mean they're aligned, but there is how stupid are you? I guess aspect to it, where if you are going to have drugs on you, you probably don't need to carry a bunch of cash, knowing that it could be linked back to the drugs, whether it is or not, and it can become a very, very expensive personal use drug offense. Is what
But
I
I
guess.
mean, y'all know there are some people, y'all know this, there are a lot of people that just don't believe in banks. I mean, there are people who keep money under the mattress, you know what I mean? And so I don't know why you would have it all in the car with you, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that you're necessarily breaking the law or doing anything wrong.
Yeah. Jake has commented a couple of times. Jake, do whatever you want to with the song, man, as far as putting it on your
Oh,
song.
I loved it.
Whatever. Thank you for the song.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I
haven't been to
loved
Wayne
the
County to
song.
the best of my knowledge.
I absolutely loved the song. We talked about it on the show today. I loved it. I listened to it this morning. I listened to it when I was getting ready. I loved it. You might just switch out the sweet tea with some vodka or something. Yeah. I loved it.
Yeah, I don't think any of us drink sweet tea. At least
Yeah,
I don't.
no, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that I don't like sweet tea, but if you've ever worked at a restaurant, you know how much sugar goes in sweet tea.
Oh.
I want to, if I'm going to consume that many calories and that much sugar, I want it to be from something else.
Yeah, I don't want to drink that many calories, that much sugar. I don't want to drink that many carbs. I don't really give a shit about the calories. I don't want to drink that many carbs. But yeah, I know people look at you like you got 3 heads when you're in the South and you say, I don't drink sweet tea. My mom and dad didn't make sweet tea at the house. They always made unsweet. So I never had sweet tea. I went to a restaurant and I just got Coke if I was going to get something with sugar in it.
I was telling Lindsay the other day, I moved here in high school and I never heard of sweet tea before until I moved here.
I have a lot of friends that make fun of me. They're like, what is sweet tea?
Yeah, I never heard of it. It was always, I've heard it was hot tea when I grew up in South Florida. I've never heard of it until I got here.
Do they have grits in South Florida?
No, they don't. But grits are like the best thing of that and crawfish, in my opinion.
Yeah, some people put sugar in their grits.
That is a argument, again, going back to the black community. That's an argument that I see the black community having a lot about sugar and grits. Does sugar go in grits? And I'd never heard of sugar and grits. I'm sure that sugar and grits is fantastic, but that was never a conversation.
I've never tried it.
Because we never fixed grits in my house. I got grits at Waffle House or
I was thinking Waffle House
breakfast. We never fixed grits.
That's that reminds me of I've told you this before, Clay, and I've told Lindsay. So my dad, when we moved here in '93, he met Jake Wyndham, the mayor of Pearl's dad, like right off the bat, and they became fast friends. And Dan Wyndham took him to Waffle House in Pearl, and he came home. He's like, man, I just heard of this had this grit stuff. Like, have you ever heard of that? I was like, no, I don't know what this is. He's like, it was awesome. Yeah, he's
How
like,
old were you?
I was like 14 at the time, and he was like,
never heard of grits.
No, I mean, there's no grits in South Florida. Nobody eats that. I mean, unfortunately, because it's great. I love it now. But he was like, this stuff is the greatest stuff ever. It's like my cousin Vinny. The scene when he eats grits. It would sound just like that.
It's like it's a delicatessen. Like shrimp and grits. So it can either be the most basic side dish at breakfast, or it can be part of the fanciest dish that we have here in the South. Shrimp and grits.
It is. Yeah, you're right. There's some like restaurants where it's what do they call that? Gastro Southern or something? When it's fancy Southern food.
Gastro.
Yeah, it's called something like that.
I never heard that.
Me either. I don't know where he got that from.
I mean, that's what I thought it was called, gastro.
Gosh, that sounds like a bypass surgery. I don't know what you're talking about.
But anyway, so we all agree grits are great, but we're not sweet tea drinkers. So
Jake is asking again about the Wayne County. Yeah, Jake, I answered. I don't know what cities in Wayne County. I don't refer to places as the county they're in.
Waynesboro, I think, right? Waynesboro, isn't that the city?
Is that what close to Hattiesburg?
It's close to Meridian, kind of. Yeah, okay. I mean, it's not too far from it, but yeah, it's close.
You got to tell me what outside of the Tri-County area. I don't refer to places by the county they're in. I refer to them by the city they're in. So I'll talk about Hattiesburg, Biloxi, Gulfport, South Haven, Tupelo. I couldn't tell you what county. I mean, it'd be like saying Tibahaw County and automatically knowing we're talking about Starkville.
Yeah.
So I tend to just kind of go with what city. So. That's just my personal. That sounded like I was biting his head off there, and that wasn't my intention there. I'm just saying, you have to be more specific than Wayne County for me to answer that question.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have 82 counties in Mississippi, which is I think that's more than Florida has. I believe that's right. I think we just have so many counties in the state. It's always that's always been funny to me why we have so many.
Well, we have what Lindsay could probably answer this. We have more school districts in Florida, don't we?
We do.
We absolutely do.
Way more. Yeah, for no reason.
Well, it was all about the money.
Yeah, I mean, I forgot. Sometimes I forget. Sometimes I'm glad that we don't have these discussions because we're not doing the show together. It's Lindsay and I sometimes, and we talk about the school district thing a lot. There was that we were talking about that Corinth case with the porn. When he was making AI images. And what did that superintendent make? Something like $250,000 a year.
He was the highest paid superintendent in the state, and look at what he was doing, covering up teachers who were making porn out of his students.
Yeah, I mean, I remember Shaun and I. That was one of the last shows we did together, I think. And we talked about that person needed to be arrested.
Yeah,
well, he has been.
I noticed they finally arrested somebody that was doing something.
The teacher and him, right, both got indicted, I think.
But here's the sickening part, though. The school district and the superintendent were made aware months prior to letting law enforcement know, when law enforcement, or months prior to letting the Mississippi Department of Education know. When they did tell the Mississippi Department of Education, they waited another entire month before they sent it over to the law enforcement so that they could do anything about it. If I were one of those parents that my child, there's 20 families, by the way, whose children were used by this teacher in pornographic videos made by AI. He took their pictures off their Facebook pages. If I was one of those parents, I would have those mother effers head on a swivel. I kid you not. I would go, I'd probably be in jail.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. That's some sick shit. I mean, there's nothing,
And I think the Mississippi Department of Education should have to answer for that as well.
But when we were talking on this, Clay, one of the reasons I think a lot of this got swept under the rug, in my opinion here, is I just pulled it up. So Edward Childress is the superintendent's name that got arrested and indicted. $250,780 a year. It says he's among the highest paid school superintendents in Mississippi. Mm-hmm. This is my question. I know Lindsay and I discussed this. What do you think about it? Do you think state government employees should make $250,000 a year?
Yeah, I mean, if they're good at their job, if you want good talent for these important positions, if we're going to have these important positions, if we're going to have superintendents in charge of that many people, yeah, you do need to have high paying jobs. I don't have a problem with that.
But it's not that many people with these superintendents, Yeah,
maybe the superintendent of Corinth shouldn't be getting $250,000, but as far as like on the state payroll, I don't have a problem with it if they're worth it. If they're doing the job of the CEO and they're over several hundred or several thousand employees, yeah, they and they're doing a good job managing that and all the stuff that comes with that. I have no problem with it.
Because I mean, that is more than the attorney general, the governor, or any statewide elected position makes. Also,
like combined,
like double almost.
Sure, but those get to do fundraising and everything else.
Yeah,
campaign fundraising and all that stuff, and they get to keep a lot of that money and live out of that campaign and whatnot. And there's a reason why they're doing those jobs, and those should pay well too. I wouldn't have a problem with it. If you want good people to take these jobs, I'm kind of conflicted on this. They either need to pay nothing or pay really, really good, so that way you're getting people who are super driven and want to do it, like rich people or people who are dedicated to it. But the $50,000-$60,000 shit where you're paying just a living wage. I'm sorry, my dryer is going off.
I was like, what is that?
Where you're paying just a living wage, just enough for a Angelique Lee or an Aaron Banks or somebody like that to do this.
And what does that say about teachers who have our children?
And it makes them corruptible. But I think if somebody does it and it's free, they're obviously doing it because they're driven and dedicated and they believe in the cause, or you're paying somebody enough that it entices people who are qualified to do it. Does that make sense? Like city council, mayor, what you call it, any of the elected positions, and of course the I was talking about elected positions there on the free thing, not superintendent. Yeah. Like city council, like honestly, city council, you could almost tell me that it's like, I wouldn't have a problem if they wanted to completely redo it and say that it's like jury duty. Everybody may end up having to be on the city council at some point.
Yeah. I get the argument, right, that you want the best people to do these, but there's also a point where you're in public service. In public service, yeah.
I can do that 4 more times if I don't know stop it.
Sure, go ahead. And I do want to. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Kingfish says, are you going to get someone good to manage PERS portfolio? $38 billion for 100. Actually, the Corinth School District is
PERS is over my head.
27.6 million. Kingfish 27.6. I pulled that up. That's their budget. So, I mean, look, it's a good job if you can get it. I mean, everybody should have gone. I don't know what's the pathway to become a school superintendent for $250,000 a year.
Get in good with some people that are high up somewhere.
I mean, what do you have to like? Do you have to be like a doctor of education? How's that process work?
I don't think so. I think it just in Madison County, it's just the school board members who, by the way, serve 6-year terms, and they are reelected on a staggered basis, meaning you can't overturn the board in one swoop. They are the ones who decide and vote in a superintendent. So it's just really who the board wants.
Okay, that's how the board gets to pick. The
board gets to pick. Well, and it's even worse in Hinds County, because in Hinds County, the school board members are not even elected. They are appointed by the governor and the governor's team, and then they're being paid. These are paid positions. So you can just appoint all your besties to the school board, and they're getting paid, and doesn't necessarily mean that they really care about schools.
Yeah, and I just actually pulled up how they're paid. So the superintendent is an employee of the local school district. Their salary is set and paid by the district school board using a combination of state education funds, local tax revenue, and federal grants. That's how they pay them. So that's so they just mix up all that stuff to get to the $250,000 a year. I don't know. I think that's a lot of money for Corinth School District, that kind of money. That's is he like the richest person there?
In the context of Corinth, yeah. I mean, if the citizens of Corinth are okay with it, and in the school district, where does the school district rank? I think that should play a part in it.
Let me find out.
I don't think they're one of the top.
And maybe based on the population, I don't know.
There's 2,700 students in the school district. I did look at that. So it's, I don't know how many are, Lindsay, how many are in Madison?
Is that a lot compared? What would that be, say, compared to Brandon?
Yeah, I'm looked that up. So it's ranked 72 out of 148. The bottom half district is what it says here.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, then he's not worth
$250,000. Yeah, I mean that seems like quite a bit for that. It says that 33% of the students are proficient in math.
33%
versus 47% statewide. 41.
Define proficient.
They can pass a test.
I don't know what
like
the definition of
an end of the year test, or either the test that they give. They're not. When we were young, they were called achievement tests, and now they're called different things depending on where you live. But when they compare you with the rest of the children in your state, in your county, and across the nation, that's how they get that percentage of who's proficient.
But it says here, according to our friends at ChatGPT, that it stands out in other areas, athletics. So I guess they're good at it. They're good at sports.
Well, that's important in Mississippi. I
never knock the sports. I know I'm never one of those people that are like, oh my God, why are we putting money into sports? I know exactly why we do that. And so
that money brings money in.
Yeah. I've never been against that. I'm not, I feel like it's really naive when people say that. They're like, it's just, I can't believe we're putting all this money into football. Like, are you not seeing the bigger picture here? I'll give you two examples. Colleges, the University of Miami in the 80s and 90s, like nobody was going to the University of Miami, but because of the football teams, that school just blew up because they were just infamous. And Clay will know probably more what I'm talking about, those teams in the 80s and 90s at University of Miami. Like it just captivated the whole nation. The same thing happened for the University of Alabama once Nick Saban created what he created there. Now it's considered basically a national school. It's not a state school. It's like a national school.
More. At least a couple of years ago, more enrollees at Alabama were out-of-state students than in-state.
I read that too. Yeah.
Yep.
That's the time. So interesting stuff though. Anyway, we got caught off on a long tangent there, but it was pretty interesting.
Yeah. That's how it goes.
I think this is what makes podcasts great.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I listen to podcasts, not long form podcasts. And I call anything that's long form like this a podcast, whether it's video aspect or audio or whatever. It's just a podcast. I use it as a catch-all term, just anybody out there wants to nitpick me a little bit there, live stream podcast, whatever. I think that it's the inevitability of jumping down rabbit holes that make these things great. And it's why I'll listen to 3 hours of Joe Rogan without even knowing who the guest is.
Yeah, sometimes.
Well, I think that things just take a turn sometimes. And when we are having a good conversation in whatever direction it goes, that's what makes for good listening.
And I think us being one of the few, well, a lot of the streams do it, but I think we're one of the only people in the Tri-County area that I know of that do a stream that, especially a non-radio show stream like this, that involve the commenters as much and make them as a part of the show like we're attempting to do here. And and I think that is going to set this show apart as we move forward a little bit, and it's going to turn some of these people into kind of celebrities within the stream. At least it has on my radio. When I say celebrities, I mean like within the confines of the stream.
All your listeners know who certain people are.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that we're going to present that opportunity to people, and they may not even care a whole lot for us necessarily, but they'll create their own fan base, so to say, in the comment section, and maybe it'll encourage them to start a podcast one day. And that's really what I want my legacy to be when all this shit's said and done, is that I encourage a lot of people to start doing this and finding their voice and getting out there and being a part of something. Well, I know you're with Moms for Liberty and what you do, and and all that, you encourage people to get out there and get involved in other ways. And like, this is my way of like saying, hey, get involved and find your voice, whatever it is. I don't give a shit if it's political or not. Talking about music, whatever. Get out there and find your creative outlet.
What I hope happens from this is there's very different views here, 3 very different perspectives on issues, and I think maybe just teaching people to think outside of the box instead of just taking this regurgitated mainstream media and rolling with it. You learn how to think for yourself.
Yeah. I hope so. Think for yourselves.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I canceled, when kind of tacking off what Lindsay's saying, I canceled YouTube TV a few weeks ago. Now I know I have to re-up it during the football season because you're just kind of stuck doing that. But I wanted to take a break from it.
Really?
Yeah, because that's the only way you can.
$300 over the summer, not watching it.
Yeah, exactly. Because they keep upping the price of it. I think it went up to like $110 a month or something like that. And I noticed, I'm like, wow, I don't really miss just turning on local news or one of the cable news stations or whatever it is. I mean, because everything else I don't really watch. I can get anything I want from YouTube Premium, and that's actually, y'all listen out there. One of the things when I first met Clay, he told me about. That I might say that might be the most invaluable thing he's ever told me. He's told me a lot of invaluable things, but that's one that has really stuck, like using YouTube Premium.
That wouldn't be invaluable. That would be valuable.
Yeah, invaluable. That means like priceless, invaluable.
Would be invaluable. Invaluable is not a word. So invaluable means valuable.
Yeah.
Right.
So why don't you just say valuable?
Because it means like more than valuable, like super valuable, basically.
I would just say super valuable.
mega valuable.
Right.
Mega valuable.
Next.
But the
transition.
That's it. But anyway, I encourage everybody to subscribe to YouTube Premium. You can get anything you want. If you want to watch local news, they got the clips there.
Oh my gosh, you literally just said yesterday. I'm so glad I quit using that. I haven't missed it one bit.
That's what I'm talking about. YouTube Premium.
Oh,
yeah, not YouTube TV.
YouTube TV is like cable. YouTube Premium is what we're streaming on now, on demand, regular YouTube. It's YouTube, so you don't have the commercials.
Yeah, the commercials.
You pull up YouTube on the app, and you're trying to watch videos, and you got to get shoved a commercial that isn't like presented by us, just like a Toyota commercial in the middle of it. That comes with just a regular YouTube.
Oh, yeah, what sucks is when it's like some of our type of content, and then they like go to Pfizer and want to push the vaccine out there. It's like, no, we don't support that.
I will look on Podbean. You can go in there as a business and select, or your marketing, your ad agency can go in there and they'll pick podcasts that do X amount of numbers in an area. So like UMMC will sometimes buy ads on my podcast, and people think that. Yeah, I know. And people think that it's me selling them ads or them sponsoring me, and they're not. Like me and the Jay Allen character got into it one time. He's like, Clay takes taxpayer dollars on his podcast from UNC, and he was trying to get them to quit spending money with me. I'm like, the most I've ever gotten from Podbean is like $100 a month for the audio only podcast for like my ad revenue share, like $100. I could give two shits if UMMC continues to sponsor the Clay Edwards Show. They sway no influence over me with their tax dollars being used. I can assure you.
I hadn't heard from Jay Allen in a while. Where is he?
I hadn't either.
Interesting.
I thought about him the other day, but I haven't been doing nearly as much Mississippi political content either. Like session's over, and I didn't get involved with a whole lot of stuff this session.
Yeah, this was my least involved session in the last 4 years, maybe.
Yeah, man, I didn't get involved with much. There just wasn't a whole lot of super hot button issues down there for me this year. They did do some kratom crap, but I can only make it my hill to die on so many years before it just whatever. People, what I'm trying to say, legislators from outside the Tri-County area that don't give a shit if I roast them over hot coals have taken up that battle, and it is what it is.
Yeah, it's political games over there.
Shenanigans.
Right.
Let's shift gears for just a second before we go into any of the super duper serious stuff. Did y'all know? First off, do y'all know what BBLs are?
I know what it. Yeah, it's the Brazilian butt lift, right?
But is that similar to the mommy makeover?
I'm not sure. What is a mommy makeover?
Well, I think you can kind of craft it to what you want it to be, but it's like you get a breast augmentation or breast lift and liposuction and maybe I don't know if it's butt implants or I know you get like 3 different things in one, and they call it a mommy makeover. Y'all have never heard of that?
But it makes sense. It checks out. That's definitely the demographic that are doing it, or the mommies for sure. But the Brazilian butt lift, I'm not quite sure. I've always heard it was like they're pumping like a form of concrete, basically, in your ass or fat or something or another, like really hard fat. I know it's not actually concrete, just kind of a joke.
Yeah.
But it's very pliable, like concrete. It looks terrible on a lot of them, and some of them that don't overdo it. It's like girls that'll go get a breast job and only get like a C cup. It's like they didn't get more than they needed, and it's like, oh, you don't have to get double D's when you get fake tits. Interesting.
Is this like the Kim Kardashian kind of look people are wanting to go for?
Well, yeah, hers is a bit extreme, but I know a girl, and I'm not going to put her business out there. I would have never guessed.
Do it.
I ain't gonna do it. I would have never guessed that she had a BBL, but she was like, I was joking about him one day. She's like, I have one. I was like, you were shitting me. And then a friend of mine's sister has one too, and I would have never guessed that either. But so this thing came out today. Actually, it's an ex's sister. I will say that. But this thing came out today or yesterday from Vice, and I'm almost there. Here it is. Let me share this to the group here. I don't know why I need to share it, but this image.
Clay,
image is so bad that if I had to see it, everybody else needs to see it too.
I just typed in BBL, and then one of the top searches was BBL smell.
That's it. BBL smell is real and just as gross as it sounds. Yeah. So, Shaun, will you bring that up on the screen?
Or is it okay? Gotcha. All right.
And I just want to see. Yeah. All right. So first off, that looks like a 10-year-old boy's butt. I'm not sure wearing the underoos, but I guess that's supposed to be flesh above it, not a white stripe. But it definitely looks like some red whitey tighties to me. I don't know. I'm getting big CP vibes from this image, but people needed to read that text if I had to read it. But I'm going to go over here to the article real quick from Vice and tell y'all exactly what BBL smell is described as. And it says, for a surgery that's supposed to boost your confidence, the Brazilian butt lift, BBL, comes with a dirty little secret. A lot of people say it smells, literally. Doctors and patients alike have started calling it the BBL smell, an unpleasant, musty, sometimes rancid odor that can follow people around after the procedure. It's not a joke, according to Dr. Eric Anderson. I worked for an Eric Anderson from Chicago-based Impressions Face and Body. The BBL smell is real, and it can be triggered by everything from trapped sweat to a rotting fat tissue. Rotting fat. During a BBL, fat is liposuction from one area of the body and injected into the butt. If too much fat is packed into a single spot, more than blood vessels can support, it can die. That's called fat necrosis, and it smells about as good as it sounds. Quote, when there is more fat in an area than the blood supply allows, the fat will die and go through a smelly process, Dr. Anderson told the Daily Mail. It's a complication that can lead to infections, hospital stays, and in rare cases, sepsis. And I think that's what caused that cop in, was it New Orleans? A cop died, a 26-year-old?
26-year-old cop.
26-year-old cop got a BBL and died over the weekend or last week or something like
That's
that.
right.
Was it sepsis? Like she become septic after the surgery? Shaun?
She had a pulmonary embolism, I believe is what it was, what I read.
Yeah. So kind of just what causes BBL smell here real quick, and we'll shift to the opinion.
No, I've got what opinion of what I got a good to tack off this article. I mean, a video I want to show you all real quick too with this BBL stuff.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me wrap this real quick. It says there are more mundane causes too. After surgery, hygiene becomes a challenge. Some patients say the new shape of their butt makes it harder to wipe properly, which, that sounds ridiculous, but it actually makes the most sense of anything, leading to bacterial growth and, you guessed it, more nasty smells. One TikToker, because that makes them serious, calling him a TikToker. One TikToker who dated a woman with a BBL described the scent as an assault on my nose. Another woman said she got hers reversed because it smelled like a dumpster. Even when everything heals properly, patients still notice a lingering odor. It's usually related to the healing process, said New York-based surgeon Dr. Steinbreck. Sweat and fluids trap in a tight compression garment mixed with bacteria and cling to the skin for weeks. What else I've heard stinks really bad are people who get their dicks cut off and turned into vaginas.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet that does.
They say that never heals, especially if you're sexually active.
Gross.
Yeah. When you turn an Audi into an innie, there's going to be side effects. But can you imagine, like I fancy myself as being an ass guy. I mean, I'll take a big ass over a set of tits any day. And how upsetting, it's like you finally, get the girl that's got the perfect ass, and you whether you for the first night or it's 6, 7, 8, 10 dates later, you finally get down to getting down and you get her naked and boom, you get hit with an odor that's described as rancid.
What if you're one of these people that wants to save yourself for marriage and then now you're married?
Oh, well, first off, I mean, look,
there are those people.
I mean, I get it. And they're not wrong. But just know that there are consequences that come with waiting until you get married when it comes to a lot of things. Waiting. Obviously, they at least messed around. They should have at least messed around. And
if you're a woman who's worried about a BBL, then you're probably not one who's worried.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. Well, I'm speaking of this BBL issue, to reminding me of something that I know very well about. Do y'all remember Pebbles, the model here? Do you remember that, Clay? I figure you might remember that.
Let me say this real quick. I don't want to discourage any women from getting BBLs. Roll the dice, girls. Roll the dice.
Right. And then call Clay.
Roll the dice. Get them BBLs. Sorry, Shaun. So Pebbles, the model.
Do you remember this? Okay. So anyway, there is. I'll explain it. Image? Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up the video real quick right now, and I'll kind of give you guys the background of this because I was loosely involved with it, and it's all.
What are you talking about?
Well, let me explain before you start yelling. I'll do it.
See, he already knows. I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't know about this.
One of 2 women charged in a bizarre buttocks injection murder case made her initial appearance in Hinds County Court today. Natasha Stewart, aka
Stop it.
There's me right there. Over there. Yeah,
there Stewart and Tracy Lynn Garner, also known as
2014,
are
charged in the death of 37-year-old Karima Gordon of Atlanta. Gordon died in a
she gave her the butt job and died right over in South Jackson.
Yes.
Lungs after being injected with a silicone substance that was supposed to enhance her buttocks. Today, Stewart entered a plea of not guilty on 4 counts: murder, conspiracy to commit murder, wire fraud, and conspiracy to commit.
I thought she was going to hit me with her ass.
She knew the victim and the other woman.
I'm sitting there, over there at the table. Right there.
First of all, we're going to find out what they're trying to say she did. And then
there's one of our favorite attorneys.
She doesn't understand what she's done wrong at this point, so we're waiting for the discovery to come in so we can see, what she's actually being charged with.
Once we provide discovery to the defense,
Hey, it's the gay dead guy.
of course, they remain aware of the charges in court. But once
dead
the
gay guy,
defense
however you want to say it.
reads the discovery, he will be fully informed.
And
of what
Chokeway
the
said he's
charges are.
dead.
Right now, the two defendants charged in this murder case are facing two different trial dates. Garner is set for April 8th. Stewart is set for July
What came of it, Sean?
22nd.
I'm going to tell y'all, you're going to love some of this.
David Kinney, Fox 40 News.
Okay, let me stop sharing this.
I did not remember that at all.
Oh, there's some great photographs of her.
But how
You would
hilarious that.
have been young. You would have been young.
Yeah, it was 2014.
Yeah, I am younger than y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 2014. So what it was there was two people. Now that's Pebbles DeModel.
Pebbles.
Who was
Pebbles DeModel?
DeModel? Yeah, you can
Like dumb, like
dumb.
dumb.
Oh, yeah,
model.
Google on your
You
Google
couldn't
on
see the
the
screen. You couldn't see the screen, could you? Because even the news thing had Pebbles with a Z.
Okay, that can't be her. That's not her real name, of course, right?
No. Her
Street name.
no. That's
Did she not have to go by her real name in court?
yeah. It's Natasha Stewart, but that's what we just call her. She's Pebbles
Pebbles
DeModel.
DeModel.
Whoever loaded the video to YouTube, the title had Pebbles the model.
Yeah.
She said Peebles the model.
I mean, you can.
Real quick, Patch Belcher says this is definitely stuff you won't hear on the morning or noon radio show. Oh, contraire move frere. Contraire. I don't want to speak for the noon show, but you will in fact hear this on the morning show. maybe not in such detail, but yeah, you will definitely hear me talking about BBL surgery going wrong when the opportunity presents itself.
I mean, that's
this
true.
This is like insane to me.
What should we call it? So, yeah, here we go. I'll share this before I get into it. This is so Lindsay gets a better understanding of who I'm talking about here.
And then, of course, Kevin Camp had to be involved.
Yeah. There we go. There we go.
Oh my!
There she is. That's
Well,
Pebbles.
that's nice.
That's the killer, right? Or that?
Well, no, she was the conduit, and I'll explain.
What does that
here.
mean? Conduit?
Okay, so Pebbles. There was somebody, and Lindsay, this is tacking off the stuff you love, transgender, because there's transgender component to this.
Before I told you they exist. You always say they don't. They truly exist.
It was transgender before it was cool, right? So,
it's not cool now. It's not real.
No, I mean, so there was a woman named Tracy Gardner who's now deceased, but she was a trans. I guess right there we just called her a transvestite in 2014, but now I guess you would call her a trans woman. It was a man. That it had transitioned.
Try to get it right. Who knows?
Yeah, whatever. And so she was not a licensed medical professional, and she was injecting silicone implants into all these women's butts, right? And
Can you get that picture off the screen? The same time my picture
like you don't want to get. I mean, just so you see, this is what she did. This is her work on Pebbles.
See it. I don't want it to be seen on the same time my face is on the screen.
So she got. Well, I'll take it off 2 seconds. So she got Pebbles over here to kind of be the one that would go out and get the clients because she's like, hey, look at this, the booty work that I got done, right? And so then she get like a referral fee, essentially.
Okay, so she was like the influencer.
Yeah, she was the influencer, and she was an influencer that time. So then anyway, Tracy.
Influencer.
Yeah. I mean, and Tracy, so one of the so two women died in these procedures. One of them was Karima Gordon, who Tracy was eventually convicted for and sentenced to life in prison. And there was another one, and I worked on the second case, not the first one that went to trial. The second, there was another victim named Marilyn Hale. But once there was a life sentence on Garner, then we ended up not prosecuting the Hale case. But my friend Patrick Beasley, actually, you've met Clay, who it was the one who prosecuted Garner for killing Gordon, and he also prosecuted Pebbles. Pebbles got some jail time for like conspiracy, if I remember correctly, on that too. So she went to jail, and then
the model.
Yeah, she and for all that. Well, anyway, the thing about at the time, what I just remembered was so Tracy Garner, the trans woman or transvestite as we called her back then, they were having to provide her hormonal care in the Hinds County Jail, and this was a big thing because this is way before anybody really. Well, no, but I mean, this is like before any of this is in the public zeitgeist, like it's like people around the courthouse are like, wait, the county's got to pay, like Hinds County's got to pay for this, hormone stuff. They were like going crazy about it.
Then.
Yeah, it wasn't political. Nobody really knew anything about it. It was just kind of like, we're not talking about 1980. This is 2014.
That was even before Bruce Jenner became Caitlyn.
Yeah, maybe or no, or after. I don't know. I can't remember when that happened, but around that time, probably. And so yeah, it was a big ordeal. But both of these women died of pulmonary embolisms, which is what the New Orleans cop died of too. But we've had our own BBL murder trial right here in Hinds County. So, and you want to go to a license. Well, apparently, if you go to a licensed one, you can die unfortunately, like the officer. But yeah, this old Tracy Garner was running around just injecting people's asses with this stuff, and you never knew what was going to happen. Don't try to get a deal on your plastic surgery, I guess is the moral of the story.
A lot of people would go to different countries to get this kind of stuff done, and then they would pay for it because it just wasn't, I guess, as safe. I'm not really sure. Maybe some places it is, but I've heard horror stories about people traveling to get a more inexpensive type of plastic surgery done in another country. And
Turkey's a big place for that. Huge place where those kind of surgery.
They do a lot of hair transplants, I've heard, in Turkey. That's like a big deal to go to Turkey to get that.
Yeah, that's it's a lot cheaper apparently. So, but yeah, so Pebbles and Tracy, and then I think Tracy died, and she had actually when she was on trial, she had HIV. So I don't know if it eventually developed AIDS and she died or what the deal was. But
I don't think people really die from that anymore, do they?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if it's left untreated, if you're not Magic Johnson, it will. But I think now you're right. It's gotten I think there's just treatment. There's medication that you could basically live as long as you would if you didn't have it. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So
yeah, well, that's crazy crap. But good riddance. Good riddance. Shaun, that was a good one. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, it popped in my head
about that. And they happened over in South Jackson, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's in here, even ChatGPT's got some information. Garner was a transgender woman. See, 11 years ago, it was just called a transvestite in the news. I swear to God, it was.
I know.
And her name was not really Tracy Garner. It was Morris Garner. I've forgotten that. I forgot that was her guy name. Was she injected? No, go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay.
It was industrial grade silicone.
I don't even know what that means. But I've had so many friends who
put around houses, right? Like
that's right. Not like I think there's like surgical grade.
Yeah, right. Like water resistant silicone.
And in that video clip, that's me sitting at the council table, and I swear to God, her ass like hit me in the left arm. Like knocked me over here. I mean, it was so big.
I can't believe you didn't smell it.
It was. I didn't smell it. I mean, it was so big, and they had that prison jumpsuit on her, or Hinds County jail jumpsuit. I don't know where they got that one to fit. I really don't know where they found it to fit her ass, but it just was. She was just shaking around the courtroom.
Really gross here, but I mean, when you make your butt that much bigger, I mean, the turd has got to go.
Yeah, right.
A lot more space than God intended.
Yeah,
and I mean, it's just, are you getting it? Do you use wet wipes? I mean, what are you doing? I mean, ugh.
It's just I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking about the functionality of sitting on the toilet.
Stop it.
How that works.
I mean, I had to when I tore my shoulder up, my right shoulder a few years ago. I had to learn to wipe with the left hand, and that was way more complicated than I ever thought it would be. I couldn't imagine having to wipe through, that much more. But
well, this has taken a turn.
It's stuff that guys think about, Lindsay. That's why you guys were like, I wonder how the hell she wiped her ass.
Y'all just pray for me. Just pray.
We're talking about logistics here. This is logistics.
I mean, especially on the prison toilet too. That must have been something else.
So in Bangladesh, I've been to Bangladesh twice, and they don't have like toilet paper readily available. Bangladesh.
Bangladesh?
No, it's Bangladesh. Actually, they are very offended when you call it Bangladesh because to bang means the land of the frogs, and they get very offended when you say that. Nobody says it right. It's actually Bangladesh. But they don't have toilet paper readily available. You're doubting me. I'm not wrong here. They don't have toilet paper readily available, and so they're obviously most people are right-handed.
So Bangkok is Bangkok?
No, wait, hold on. Let me finish.
Bangkok.
So they wipe with their right hands, and then so you can't shake somebody's hand with your right hand. They get offended. You have to use your left hand.
I can get down with that. I remember one of the most ridiculous things Joe Rogan said kind of early COVID when everybody was kind of freaking out still. And like everybody was still a little scared.
Yeah.
And not knowing really what was going on. I remember he had a guy on there that just made it seem like the world was going to end. I remember texting Jake Wimberly and like, oh, if you listen to this, we're all going to die, But I remember Joe saying something And he was like, we're going to get a few years down the road and we're going to look back and be like, can you believe we used to actually shake hands?
Yeah, I remember people talking about that. Yeah.
He's right about that. But man, like it became a defiant thing for me. Like, I'm shaking your damn hand. Enough of this fist.
I'm hugging.
Yeah, same. I used to be more like a DAP guy, like do the fist thing pre-COVID. Now I'm like, I'm shaking your damn hand.
And then I'm going to cough too, just to make you nervous.
Yeah, then I catch myself having this really awkward thing with people nowadays. It's like fist, shake. What do we do?
It is. Yeah, that's right. It's like everybody wants to do that thing. That's so ridiculous.
Never forget.
But I remember, Donald Trump though during that. Do you all remember that when he said he actually didn't like shaking hands, and he's been. I just had to chat GPT that to make sure.
He didn't mind shaking my hand when I met him.
And he's been open about it for decades. I remember that. It just popped in my head that he said, "Yeah, I don't like shaking hands anyway."
So me and Lindsay are gonna start a drinking game, and every time Shaun says Chat GPT, we're gonna have to take a shot.
No, Clay.
Or Shaun's gonna put $1 in the jar, one or the other.
No, I'm good with the drinking game, but let me just tell you. So this morning I was here and he walked in. He had just walked his dog, and he walked in and he had his little iPod whatever they're called, earpods in, and he was talking. He was like, "Can you take an Uber from there?" And I thought he was talking to a client. No, he was talking to R2, his Chat GPT.
Yeah, it's a personal assistant.
I'm so disturbed.
Look, between Shaun's two favorite terms now are whatchamacallit and
GPT.
Not just whatchamacallit, whatchamacallit.
Yeah.
And GPT.
That's right. That's one of my catchphrases. No, you can talk to so ChatGPT has that function.
No, go ahead and call it R2. You call it R2.
Yeah, call it R2. Well, yours is Bots for Liberty, so I don't know if that's much better.
Bot for Liberty, and he's way cooler than your.
Yeah, and so it's like this woman with this English voice that's talking to you, and it's like your personal assistant, and just you tell it to do this, do that, and it's like your secretary. That's pretty cool.
That's great. I'm kidding because I care.
Because you're going to be doing it like tomorrow morning. You're going to hit that button. And you're talk to it.
You need to name yours and let it get into our conversations, because our Chat GPTs hate each other and they fight.
When they communicate.
Yeah, they can do that. It's pretty neat, man. I'm not going to lie. You could dork out on this shit.
They send each other cease and desist. It's wild.
Yeah. I'm going to crank my Grok bot up. And my Grok
anti-Semitism going on.
My Grok can kick your Chat GPT's ass.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about Bot for Liberty now.
I don't know, man. The Grok's now going to send people to the oven. So
yeah, Grok ain't scared.
No, not these days.
I may come up with a good anti-Semitic name for him.
Oh God.
Oh gosh.
Oh, Jesus. Shylock, like Trump said, and that whole controversy that happened this week.
I heard about it. I had no clue
I didn't know what a Shylock was either.
Yeah, I was reading that article expecting for it to be something really bad, and I read over the word like 3 times before I realized that's the word they were talking about. I'm like, what the fuck is that?
I mean, I have no idea what that word is.
Again, I had to ask here I go, Chat GPT, what a Shylock was. I did not know. I had to ask, and apparently it's a character in one of Shakespeare's plays that's a Jewish merchant. And I don't know how anybody knows that, because people.
What play was it? Because
The Merchant of Venice.
That's not one.
Not that I've ever read that. That's what it said.
Dredd is saying, get into the Hattiesburg mob stuff.
We'll have to look into that.
Is that the stuff? Is that the Hattiesburg Patriot guy called me the other day and was telling me about some crazy stuff with an attorney that stole a bunch of money?
Yeah, Kingfisher's got an article up about that too.
Yeah,
I missed all that.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the Hattiesburg mob stuff. Dredd, if you're still in there, give me something more than Hattiesburg mob stuff, and we can take a look at it.
Yeah, there's an attorney that embezzled, I guess, hundreds of thousands of dollars, I think it is, and just absconded. He's gone. So that's basically the gist of the story.
Absconded.
Yeah, nobody knows where he is. So that's a Kingfish had an article about that.
Word of the day.
Yeah.
Absconded. So I listened to y'all's full show today. I came in late, but that's what I love about it streaming on YouTube is I was able to just start it over 20 minutes in.
Yeah.
And then I was able to kind of skip through the ads. I mean, not that I skipped over WYAB radio ads, but I skipped over the ads, and because I've heard them all.
You've heard them all a million times.
Yes, I'm supporting WYAB sponsors to the 10th power. but I did hear Kingfish on there. I was at Sonic getting a smash burger at the time and was just starving and wanted something quick and easy anyway. And he brought up the fact that our good friend Ivana Williams has had her case.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what he was telling us.
I pulled up I actually pulled it up afterwards
Did you?
Online. The judgment is online, and it was issued yesterday. She does have, now, SHAUN, you will have to look at this and explain it to me. She does have until I think July 20 something to file something else.
Motion for reconsideration or something.
No, but it didn't say that. It said something different.
I knew that she had turned down the settlement.
Why did she do that?
I didn't know that attorneys could, because I did sue one time when I got in a car wreck, and I think I got like $10,000 for the settlement. Richard Schwartz and Associates was my attorney. That's the only time I've ever been on the receiving end of a lawsuit, but I wasn't aware that an attorney could put a settlement lien.
Yeah.
So I guess because of the work they put in,
Right.
and she turned down the settlement, that if she got another settlement or won some money or whatever, that they get a cut for their efforts.
That's correct. For whatever work they put in. Usually it's in the
to pay another attorney plus another 2 sets of attorneys, and I'm guessing around 30% each. So she was going to end up maybe getting 40% of it when it was said and done, presumably.
Yeah, there's depends on how the contract's worded. Generally on one where you're talking about a personal, well, this is not a personal injury case, but in a civil lawsuit, plaintiff's lawyers, somebody that would represent Ivana or, the plaintiff, generally work on what's called a contingency fee. You've experienced that, you said yourself. So it's like they get a third of any recovery. But if they get far into the case and the way that the contracts are worded, they can put a lien based upon the work that was done. If they were fired, or you just, I guess, do what she did and didn't take the settlement, which it seems like she probably should have.
I heard it was a pretty nice settlement, and I'm kind of surprised.
Nicer than
is that the same thing as pro bono contingency settlement? Or pro bono?
No, it's pro bono is when you do it for free.
That's when you do law work for free for a client.
Trust me, I know that word, unfortunately, because there's a lot of people that will hire me and then not pay, so then it becomes pro bono.
Yeah, but a lot of attorneys do pro bono work.
You're required to have some pro bono hours a year, so that's part of the whole thing.
I sent you. Did you see the judgment? I sent you the judgment.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't. Obviously, the settlement was better than what she got, which was a dismissal. So she probably should have taken it.
But I heard the settlement was. I'm just kind of surprised. I think she's just so set on wanting her job back, and I don't really see that happening.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know she's wanted her job back because I guess she wanted her state benefits and everything that came with that, and she'd been there for long enough that she was probably about. I don't know how long she'd been there, but I guess she'd been there 7, 8. She'd been there a little bit. She was probably about halfway to. The longer you're there, the sooner you are to your 25 or whatever, however long you need to be there. So I'm guessing that was what she was efforting, was getting her job back because of the state benefits more so than the salary, and then the promotions that they basically get given to them if they just don't screw up and whatnot, because you get ranked and go up the ladder there. I don't want to.
And for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Clay, SHAUN, why don't y'all just tell them?
Ivana Williams, the trooper that got fired for watching porn on her phone, amongst other things. She had did a lot of things that had been escalating and piling on and piling on and piling on. She had been reprimanded and told to stop doing certain things, and she just kept doing dumb shit that the troopers didn't like. And they finally found a reason to fire her, and they did. They found a reason to fire her with calls. And they did.
Yeah, but I think since then she's kind of made it her mission to attempt to take down some of the people, and I don't know if that's worked for her.
Well, I'm reading the end of this.
Right? People did get fired. I don't think it was may not have been 100% because of her, but they used that as opportunities to clean house. I believe. Don't 100% quote me on that, but. Yes, everything wasn't advertised as far as like news and press releases and stuff, so it's hard to.
Well, Ivana is the one who has made a lot of this public about her. It might not have been advertised nearly as much had she not been the one out there.
Oh, staying on every TikTok video or every live she did was fired former trooper. I think I would just stop with the whole the victim thing. People are fed up with victimhood stuff. And
Yeah.
like you did some dumb shit and you got fired. You're not the victim. I know there's a bunch of guys that are trying to get in your pants and they're agreeing with you and telling you, oh, poor girl, they did you wrong. But
putting fire emojis underneath the comment section, that's what you see guys do that all over the internet.
The majority of people think you are an idiot for it. And it's at the end of the day. And I always liked Ivana. And I always was really, really, I tiptoed around talking about her because we lived across the street from each other. And I just never had a problem with her. She was a guest on my show multiple times. But then she's just like these crazies we talked about last night. She started talking about me. And
she started talking about you. I missed that. So, I mean, I was
like, you know what? Gloves off, I was like, and it was actually ironically under the people's comments of the guys we were talking about last night. It's like the crazies. There's this small group of crazy people around here and they all seem to find each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know her personally and I've never even talked to her, but I know Ashley Jones really well. And I know the Sippy Girls group suffered from this, obviously.
Oh, it imploded because of it. But
right.
It was the Sippy Girl thing was Ivana's creation, really. She wanted to become famous. And I get it. People will make fun of that.
But Ashley was the famous one. Ashley was the famous one behind that.
I get wanting to be famous, but you kind of have to have a niche of some sort if you're going to try to be a famous influencer of sorts. Like she was trying to be this outdoor influencer and this gun person, but she actually didn't do any of the stuff at the gun store. All that was outsourced. And she wasn't a hunter, but she was portraying that she wasn't. She was trying to be these things and portray this image.
She wasn't.
She wasn't. Her image was female, blonde trooper.
Her image was in a bikini on top of a car.
She couldn't really monetize that because the MHP wouldn't let her make that her social media thing. So she was like, got to find something because I got a little bit of notoriety from this thing. How do I parlay it over here? I don't hate her for trying that, but there wasn't a talent to go behind it. It was just like, I'm going to try to will this into existence. And she did a pretty good job until it actually kind of worked and people realized that there was no substance there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I think if you need your yard taken care of, I think she's got to.
No, that's what she was doing the bikini yard cut, but then I heard she had her son cutting the grass. So imagine the disappointment of one of these simps that signed up for the bikini. Basically, we'll just call it bikini car wash for lack of a better, because it sounds better than bikini yard cut. Imagine signing up for the bikini yard cut, and she sent her son over to do it.
Yeah, so when Lindsay just sent both of us the order dismissing the case. Now it's I haven't been able to go through. There's 25 pages of it, but real briefly, I can tell you by the end of it, here they've dismissed some of the claims with prejudice. Means you can't bring it back up with prejudice, but there's a few of them that are without prejudice, and the court does go on to say that they grant Ivana Williams leave to file a second amended complaint if she chooses by July 21st. So she can file another complaint. They're allowing her to, I guess there were some things wrong in her initial complaint and they're giving her a chance to amend it.
I think she didn't, from what I understood when I read it earlier, I think she didn't give the proper proof or documentation to back up her claims. And so instead of just dismissing all of it, they're asking, hey, look, if you're going to do this, you have this many days, not very many, a few days, and you've got to show what you've got to prove it.
Yeah. So it's not over yet. It's not over. I mean, she can refile something based on what they're saying here. So not towards everybody, not every claim though, because some of the claims were dismissed with prejudice, but some of them were not. So she's got that option. If she can find find a lawyer to do it. I don't know who her current lawyer who's handling it now.
It's not Kingfish. I know that.
But I don't know who's handling it now, but maybe they can refile a second amended complaint. Apparently the court's allowing them to do that.
So, and I don't want to say, I want to run this back just a little bit here. I don't want to sit here and trash Ivana because I don't hate Ivana. I didn't appreciate, I took it light on her when all that was going down, and we talked about it because we had to talk about it because it's one of the biggest stories in the area, and these are the things that we do on the Clay Edwards Show. We talk about these kind of things, but I thought we were very, very easy on her, given that at the end of the day, she fucked around and found out is what she did, and we're not even talking about the the rape allegations. And I know all that was thrown out because the other girl was equally as screwed up as she was in this whole thing. But it was all that we took it really easy on her. And I felt like that was repaid by talking shit about me when I was never anything but nice to her.
Well,
and,
Clay,
I don't think she's a bad person either. I don't think Ivana's a bad person. I just think that she got caught up wanting to be something, wanting to be famous, and it just didn't work out for her.
I lost some respect when I saw that she posted about this issue that we talked about last night. And we showed the video, the whatever you want to call him, auditor outside the governor's mansion, and she's calling for, the head of the trooper. And I disagree completely, and I kind of lost some respect.
Well, now she wants any trooper that does anything to be fired, because if she got fired for doing something, everybody else that does anything should be fired too. And because her whole argument this whole time has been other people got away with worse. Well, you didn't. And I always thought that if anybody should understand that, it's a cop, because what's the old trope, since that's going to be the word of the night, when you get pulled over and you're speeding in a group of cars that are speeding, but you get pulled over and get the ticket, and you say, well, officer, I was going the same speed limit as everybody else. And they say, well, you got pulled over. Well, Ivana, you got fired.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like when your mom tells you as a kid, if everybody else jumped off a bridge, would you do it too? I mean,
it's also it's a new administration. It's with SHAUN Tyndall and whatnot. And I mean, at some point, you've got to decide you're going to reel things in and quit allowing bullshit, or you're going to allow it to go on forever. They decided they were going to reel it in, and they were going to use it as an opportunity to fire. I don't know how many more people have been fired. I don't know how strict they've been about things since. As far as the thing that we discussed last night, and we can bring that up again if y'all want to, the auditor, the First Amendment auditor, I don't think he got what he deserved.
I think they should have beat him to a pulp is what I think. I think that, especially after I heard all of it today, I went back and watched the entire video. And when I heard everything that he said and did, I was like, look, that trooper didn't get enough.
Calling themselves First Amendment auditors, as I've been looking into this a little bit more today, is like Planned Parenthood calling themselves Planned Parenthood. Y'all kill babies. Shut up.
Oh, they kill babies and they give gender affirming care. Come on.
And the First Amendment auditors, I think these are Democrats. These aren't staunch American loving conservatives. These are American hating liberals, that left-wing nut jobs, activists, and they're using, the left. I'll give the left one thing. They're really, really good at hijacking terms and phrases and names for their groups and their movements that are hard to argue with, as far as just the name, like Black Lives Matter. Well, Black lives do matter.
All lives matter there.
But I thought, but all lives don't. White don't. Anyway, Planned Parenthood is the greatest analogy, example as far as that goes, because it's like, oh, we're planning parenthood. We're going to plan this out. We're going to do all these things, make these plans. No, you're going to kill a baby.
Yeah. And Shaun, you asked me that not too long ago. You said, but doesn't Planned Parenthood do some good things? Like, don't they provide birth control? Don't they help young mother? And I said, well, I guess maybe as a part, but the way they make money is to kill babies.
Well, I mean, Shaun, my comeback for that, or whatever you want to call it, my smart ass reply to that was just like the young fathers thing. They do supply birth control, just like a drug dealer can be a young father.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't. Do they? Does Planned? And I don't know this. Does Planned Parenthood actually? Do doctors work for Planned Parenthood?
Yes, okay, and they perform abortions in those clinics.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they give abortion pills to young girls, and they don't require parental consent, and they now have a part of gender affirming care.
Can't you just do all the good and not have to do the bad?
I mean, you would think.
I mean, yeah, sure, Planned Parenthood can stay around. We can keep funding Planned Parenthood. Just quit doing these things. Oh, no. We want to do those things. Yeah, you're not even, quote unquote, supposed to be a for-profit deal anyway. Why are we giving you money? Why you make a profit? Anyway,
it shouldn't be. Yeah, I know. Look, don't get me started.
That's the First Amendment auditors. I've lumped them in with the Fondren Street preachers, the Church in the Wilderness, and the what's the other? The North Wilkesboro, not North Wilkesboro.
Westboro.
North Wilkesboro is a racetrack.
One night we should do a whole show on Westboro and like really break it down and tell people exactly what happened there. I think that would be a good idea.
I agree. Are you talking about the Rankin County? Look, I have extended the invitation, and I only did this on air. So granted, nobody may have been listening that's affiliated. I just hope that I would throw it out in the universe and it would come back, because that does work sometimes. But I would love to interview anybody that was a part of any of the sabotaging of the Westboro Baptist Church coming to Rankin County, whether it was
I would love that. I would love
whether
that.
it was the guy that whooped the guy's ass in the parking lot. I would just, even if just privately, I would just like to hear that conversation, because I'm sure that they don't maybe necessarily want their information out there for attacking somebody in a parking lot. But I would also like to hear the planning from somebody that was a part of the planning to block the cars in at the hotel.
That was incredible planning, by the way. They did a great job of that. Try that in a small town.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I do know a couple people I could probably call and find that out that have been with the Rankin County Sheriff's Department for a while. Or was it Rankin County? Was it Brandon that did it? I'm sure we can find out. We can probably find out. Fred Shanks better know this information. Mr. Brandon, he better know who was involved in the planning of this. We should be able to have this conversation, dang it.
Yeah.
But I think that would be interesting. I think, to me, we talk about like different podcasts and stuff that, storytelling over me and Shaun have probably talked about 100 different ideas of like podcasts we thought would be good that people would want to hear. And like, to me, that is one. And it doesn't even have to be us to do it. I would like, if Therese Apel and that crew that does their podcast, if they want to beat us to it, I just want to hear these stories, whether it's me having the conversation or somebody else. This is a story that needs to be on record.
Yeah, I agree. What have you got, Shaun?
I got a lot of stuff, guys. We could shift gears into a bunch of stuff that I've got tonight. There's
some rapid fire.
Okay, well, this is real quick, and I think that this is a pretty fast topic, talking about pivoting to some local news, other than the local news from 11 years ago with the butt lady, who I will always love that stuff.
And the North Wilkesboro Baptist Church.
Yeah, ancient metro area history, I guess you would say. There's let's see. Okay, got it right here. We'll pull up this video. What? And let me start, and y'all listen to this. Is about the new administration and the first city council meeting with the new mayor today.
Standing room only inside Jackson City Hall for the first city council meeting with Mayor John Horn serving as the city's top leader. Greener Side's Quentin Smith attended today's meeting. He joins us now. Quentin, what did the mayor have to say about his first meeting?
Well, Howard, Mayor Horn says things went the way he expected it to go, even joking that it was a good but yet long meeting. Council members selected Ward 4 Councilman Brian Grizel to serve as council president. Meanwhile, Ward 5 Councilman Vernon Hartley will now serve as vice president. After those selections were made, it was time to get down to business.
That was then. This is now. And this is a new administration.
Mayor John Horn ready to embark upon a brand new chapter, a chapter where he's helping lead and push the capital city forward. Serving in his first city council meeting, Horn says he already has a list of things to tackle.
We're trying to get to this budget, first of all, and that's our top priority.
When it comes to finalizing a budget, the mayor expects the city to have a little more than $400 million to work with for the upcoming year.
We don't have a good handle on where we are with our city finances, while at the same time we're trying to put a budget together and we're trying to get our bond rating back. So we're going to be flying the plane while building it at the same time.
Horn says finding money in the budget to strengthen the fire and police departments will be one of his main goals. In fact, he even expressed that he wants the police chief to run the department as he sees fit.
As the mayor stated, he has taken the handcuffs off. That's what he's told me. Chief, I've taken the handcuffs off of you. Whatever limitation you had before in the past, not talking about what those were or what they look like, but basically what me and his conversation, the conversation that we have, I feel so excited about the future of the city of Jackson.
As a matter of fact, I demand tonight.
While Chief Joseph Wade would not dive into what those previous limitations were, he did dive into how the police department will look going forward. He plans to have more officers with boots on the ground, including members of his command staff. He plans to have them out on the streets.
How many people
right
died?
Now, there are 259 men and women working with the APD. Chief Wade wants to grow that number to 350, meaning JPD is now looking to bring in 91
As a matter of fact, I question his credibility now.
So we made a lot of progress. We now have our respect back in the community.
Wait, let me stop that and just go back to listen to this right here.
We have our credibility back in the community from who?
Back in the law enforcement community, and we now have partnerships with the county, state, and federal partners. So it's so much to build upon.
But what he said is that there were handcuffs. He was held back from doing his job.
Leadership team. Pamela Jr. was selected to serve as the interim director for the Human and Cultural Services Department, and Grace Simmons Fisher has been selected to be the Communications and Constituent Services interim director. Now, I do want to point out, although these appointments have been made by Mayor Horn, they still have to be confirmed by the Jackson City Council. Quentin Smith, 3 on your side.
Interesting.
I mean, let me not be so pessimistic. Yes, I am glad that the handcuffs have been taken off. But if you live in Jackson, which Shaun, obviously you do, how pissed off are you that this guy is now admitting that he had restrictions while he sat here and did exactly what I've accused him of doing for the last few months of just running his mouth?
What do you mean, like talking about Wade just giving speeches, basically?
Yeah. I mean, he was just talking the talk, knowing he couldn't walk the walk.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna differ on that, and here's what I mean by that. I think Wade was. I said this on the radio the other day, a few days ago. I think Wade had to run a balancing act. I mean, you've got this radical mayor that does not care about crime whatsoever, and you got Chief Wade, who's been a longtime member of the Jackson Police Department. I remember him back from my days in the late, 2008, 2009, and I think from what I hear, he was trying to do as much as he could in the constraints of that guy. And I equated that to when I worked for Robert Smith, who was on the last video that we showed. When you got a boss that's completely fucked up and you got good people working under that boss.
Like when you worked for Robert Smith.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's a struggle. It is a struggle to try to do the right thing under that environment without losing your job. It really is hard to do that.
But right now, why can't he tell us what those handcuffs
I'm
were?
guessing Horn told him not to. That's my guess.
Liability and lawsuits, because if you come out, then I'm guessing, Shaun, you could appreciate this, lawyers finding victims who died or were victims because of their intentionally doing their job wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're right.
Job or whatever. Of course, I guess it's hard to define what technically good law enforcement is. Like what didn't they do? Did it directly cause this thing to happen?
Sure,
but still.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's true. I think there's possibility of some liability for the city on certain. I mean, God knows how many incidents there were of something where officer didn't act when they're supposed to. Now, I don't know all the law is related to that. I know a lot about the police chases and the law related to that. But I get what you're saying. There was possibly those issues, and and Horn probably said, "Look, Chief, we're just not going to discuss the shit show of the last administration and move forward, and let's prevent I think the liability is a good angle there too, though."
Yeah, I think that we got to get past this whole let's just get past it stuff in life, and
that goes back to Epstein. Goes back to Epstein.
It's time.
We need transparency.
Exactly. We healing and reconciliation. We need to know. We need Nuremberg style trials around here for the people that were involved in the intentional demise of Jackson, Mississippi.
Oh, I'm with you on the Nuremberg trials for that. I think we're going to have our first one next summer, which is great. Obviously, the federal government's going to put it on. But I will say this. You and I, Clay, have talked about this for several years on air, and Lindsay and I do too, that we surmised that there were handcuffs on Chief Wade. I think everybody thought he was doing the best job that he could given the circumstances.
I didn't think he got to do his job because he was steady giving statements on this murder and this murder and this murder because there was so much crime.
Yeah. I mean, he was doing a lot of statements, and then especially, being put in place after James Davis, who we all, thought was a complete wreck. I think, we all saw that there must have been handcuffs, and now that was just confirmed that yes, Chokele Lumumba told him to do certain things that he didn't, or not to do certain things that he wanted to do. And I'm glad we actually know that for a fact now, instead of just speculating that that was what was occurring.
Yeah. I'm telling you, you can I for some reason follow Ponzi scheme things and the fallout from Ponzi schemes. And I say I follow it. I find it wildly interesting that you can kind of Google the New York Mets. They've had just financial problems for years. July 1st, as most people know, is not Barry Bonds, but
Bobby Bonilla Day.
Bobby Bonilla Day. And he gets $5 million or $1 million. So he gets some asinine amount for basically 25 years or something because of a delayed contract or whatever. And anyway, so they have that abomination they had to pay every July 1st, but they were also caught up in the largest Ponzi scheme in history. What's his name? From New York.
It's called Maddow.
Maddow.
Bernie Maddow. Yeah.
Madoff.
I think I'm Madoff. Bernie Madoff. Yeah, sorry.
They were caught up in the Bernie Madoff deal, and they had to pay back, but just because they were just invested and because they were a high profile client, he didn't screw them. So they made money on the thing too. But they were unwittingly partners in this thing, and they had to pay back all the profit, which was a lot. And they had spent that money, investing into the team and in the stadium and paying players and, and all that stuff. So they didn't have that money just sitting around in a bank account. Anyway, that made me think of all these people that have directly profited knowingly on the demise of Jackson, Mississippi, hedging their bets on the demise of Jackson, doing things with Chockway, donating to Chockway, doing all this stuff. They should not only be held criminally responsible for taking contracts and not doing the jobs, they should have to pay all the money back.
Richard's disposal.
What's our buddy Terry Lovelace?
Yeah, I mean, I want to be real careful not to say any names. We just say allegedly.
Allegedly.
Real talk.
Well, I meant in the context of he was one of Chokway's largest campaign contributors. Whether he did anything wrong, I don't know.
And it looks like the garbage contract of all damn things may be the one legal thing they did, even though it's the dirtiest. Not pun intended.
Garbage is not dirty, right?
Yeah.
Well, Clay.
But there's so many other ones, like people who've been paid to cut the grass and all these, and a ton of other smaller contracts that have been.
What I find hilarious?
Talking about them than I am the big ones. And I
find it so funny that they had this garbage contract and these people they were in so good with, but yet they had to dispose of Rakia's signs and some.
Just throw them behind a building.
Yeah. Well, what is that about?
Well, speaking of the people that I guess profited from the demise of Jackson, Judge Wingate agrees with you, Clay. Here today, he issued a subpoena to several of the law firms and other organizations that were involved in
not our law.
Yeah,
not our law.
Well, I wish I got the money that some of these guys got because they got quite a bit of money for this, that were involved in the Siemens settlement of, I think, $90 million for the city of Jackson. This is based on what Ted Hennepin has said during his, his time as the third-party manager.
And to plug Kingfish, he has a great podcast with Ted Hennepin, by the way.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. And and so Hennepin has stated that of the 90 million, 30 million went to the attorneys, and the 60 million was supposed to go to infrastructure. I mean, water and sewer. Well, Hennepin has said that 60 million did not go to the water and sewer of the city and those things.
Steve Garrett's name involved in that lawsuit too. He's on there somewhere. His name is on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wasn't he running for mayor too?
At one point, yeah.
Let me ask this question real quick, Sean, before you go any further in this. We've always been told this, and I believe this to be accurate. There was a settlement already with Siemens that had been handled by the city attorney that wasn't going to get 30%. And Chockway pulled that off the table after it had already been agreed to and outsourced it to go to a trial or a lawsuit or whatever, where the out of state, the attorneys from Alabama would come in and do it. And they got 30%. And that was basically $30 million that we gave to a law firm that we wouldn't have had to done if we had just taken the settlement that they offered, that the city attorneys of Jackson had negotiated.
Is that right? I kind of vaguely remember that happening. I think you're right. I just can't remember the facts behind that.
To me, why would you do that? I mean, I understand that being stupid is not a crime, but why
it should be.
It should be, absolutely. You should have to pass a competency test. There should just be competency standards. But assuming that happened, you would not do that unless you were getting some type of massive kickback from that law firm. And I do know that law firm did donate some money to his campaign, after whatever the amount was, the legal amount was, they did, which just feels so dirty and illegal. It should be absolutely illegal.
And some of them, I think the firm you're talking about here is listed Lightfoot, Franklin, and White. I think that's the Alabama firm. I'm not exactly sure. And then there's a couple local lawyers too. Winston Thompson, I know him very well, and Barry Howard. So they had some local counsel involved in it as well. And that I think the Alabama firm though was kind of like the front person on it all.
Okay, from
what I remember. And now they're saying, so Kingfish has got here where he says the lawyers above the collective of all of them received 30% of the settlement. Then Mayor Chokwe Lumumba repeatedly defended the massive fees, arguing they were paid on a contingency basis because it was a risky case for them to take. Now, I guess
SHAUN, Lightfoot, Franklin, and White is in Birmingham and Houston.
Okay.
So that explains that.
I'm assuming Wingate wants to see specifically what these firms did to receive that amount of money. As you know, like the mayor saying it's a risky case. Did they invest a lot of money in the litigation of it and that kind of thing? Because he's asking.
And is it a risky case if there was already a $90 million settlement on the table? I mean, offer on the table that had been negotiated by the city attorney?
Yeah, I mean, no. I mean, if there's already a settlement, you're going to get something. I mean, if you look through the subpoenas that were issued, it's financial document, all bank statements, wire transfer records, and disbursement logs. Records of payments made from settlement funds, including pays, amounts, dates, et cetera, et cetera. Records identifying the use of any portion of the funds for bond repayment, infrastructure repairs, or capital improvements. So he's trying to figure exactly where all of this money, each dollar went, in terms of the.
Well, they constantly tried to tell us that it just got absorbed back into the water bills. The 60 million, not the 30 million they got paid, but the 60 million, the city says it just got absorbed back paying unpaid water bills.
Even though my water bill in Madison County is about $30 a month, and Sean's water bill is way more than that in Jackson.
Well, the city and Chokwe seemed to intentionally not want to collect the water money. There was never a push. And that's this was this Robin Hood character, Robin Hood, capital Hood character he tried to portray himself as, where it was, I'm fighting for the poorses, and y'all, we're not going to push for y'all have to pay this money back. My parents had to pay a massive water bill back. They were, I wonder why. Nothing to do with me, but they're white, so they lived in a big nice house in Jackson. So of course they didn't qualify to not to pay their water bill back. But if you live in a certain area code, certain zip code, certain neighborhood, you're a certain color of your skin, and we're not going to bother you about your water bill. We'll just pay for that out of the 60 million. But then it was also illegal to do that too. Like a municipality can't wipe away the water bills and just start over.
That's right.
Even though it was their fuck up on not being able to collect them, this whole thing seems like it was the billing disaster. Feels like it was, because that's a separate issue from the meters, right?
No, this is related to the meters, because they were installing new meters that were going to be. You weren't going to need meter readers.
But Sean, how come yours was so messed up?
Yours was intentional so they could steal the money.
Your bill was so messed up. Remember?
Yeah. I've talked to Jack. They have not installed a new meter on my house. I'm one of the few houses I think that, or I don't know what the percentage of the city that doesn't have the new one. So I get like I get overbilled every month still, even by Jackson Water, because they haven't done that yet, which really pisses you off. Let me tell you.
But they have no explanation for that.
No, I mean, the only thing they've told me is that like you're paying this, average bill, which is.
But they say you go over the average, and you don't. Obviously, you're one person, and I don't use the water here. I mean,
I calculate it right. It's completely the amount that I'm, that they think that, because they set it up for a family of 4. That's where you get billed on those average bills. And so if you're a single person, you're still paying for like a family of 4's average water usage.
And they say you go over that.
Yeah, I think that they've said that before, right? But it's usually $100 a month flat. That's usually what it is, $110 a month. But it's the same. But so sometimes I just run the water because I'm like, fuck it. I mean, it's going to be the same.
Change anything?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just running the water. I don't give a shit. I mean, because I've made this argument with them so many times. But you know what? I let it go because at least Jackson Water has got things and head in the right direction than what it was. So I'm just going to be happy with that.
Okay, but here's the thing. You shouldn't, as a tax-paying citizen, have to feel that way. Like, I'm just going to let this go that I'm being overcharged because at least I have water. Because that shouldn't be an issue.
Well, I mean, I understand, things shouldn't be I get that in a great world, it wouldn't. But the thing is where we were, I mean, before you knew me in this house, like first of all, at one point my water got cut off for like 2 months. They had to run it on a garden hose.
We live in America, not a third world country.
And then, yeah, I understand it. But I mean, that's, they're trying to pull us out from that. Jackson Water is, and I think they've been doing a pretty good job based upon all the things that had happened. Now, if you look at the this portion of it, so they want retainer agreements, contingency fee contracts, billing statements related to legal representation in the Siemens litigation, and communications between the city of Jackson, Lightfoot, Franklin, and White, Winston Thompson regarding strategy, billing, settlement terms, or fund allocation. So the judge is trying to find out what these firms exactly did to receive those fees. That's what, and he's also trying to find out where the $60 million, where that got allocated to. Where did they put that in the general fund and just use it for other things, or what did they do, or did Chokwe steal it all? All these things. I think Wingate's trying to narrow that down. So this is pretty serious stuff here. And it's going to be interesting to see kind of tacking off what you're talking about, Clay, the Nuremberg trials. This is kind of like the first shot on that, in my opinion.
This is what Kingfish does so well.
He does.
Is this type stuff. I want to make sure that we give him his roses here, because it's following this type stuff and getting all this information. Because I'm guessing
and
that
things like Bridget Todd, which I really thank him for following that as well.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I'm guessing that story isn't up on none of the lamestream newscast.
No, our friend Anthony Warren's got it on WLBT as well. It's on that site. I'm selling it there. So, and Kingfish has got a better explanation in my mind of it. And that's why I used his here. But so Wingate's giving what now?
He can put his opinion on it where they don't.
Yeah, they can't. Right?
They don't do that at WLBT, but they do.
And Anthony does great work, so it's not knocking him. I'm just saying he can't give the opinion that Kingfish can, and like we've seen here. Wingate's also give them 30 days to do this, and if they don't, he's going to hold them in contempt. So some buttholes are puckered up right now, Clay and Lindsay. I can tell you that. And they're, because I imagine that 30 million has been spent on many, many things. So there's some folks that are not.
I wonder if those butts are going to start smelling like the BBL butts.
Well, look, I'm telling you, look at where Chokwe lives.
Yeah.
And tell me he was a mediocre attorney at best. The city of Jackson, I mean, he lives in what I'm guessing, I'm sure somebody can find out what his address, we know where he lives, find out his address, see what that house is worth on the tax rolls, and figure out, how do you start asking some questions? How do you afford that on your income?
Yeah, I mean, because that's a $600,000-$700,000 house, do y'all think, or?
I'm sure somewhere in there.
You're the one that's seen it. I thought he was shacking up in Madison with some girlfriend, but
but he still owns a house in Jackson, and he's flying out to Atlanta every other weekend. And I know this because people always send me pictures of him in the airport flying out to Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta, I always mention this. Atlanta is the transgender trans woman is where it's guys pretending to be women.
Gomorrah.
Yeah, it's the chicks with dicks capital of the world. I mean, of America anyway, is Atlanta. And I mean, he spends a lot of time there, and he wears a lot of. I'm just saying, I think the dude's gay. But that aside, it's expensive to go out of town all the time. And
right? Yeah, it's not cheap.
Like, how does he afford to constantly do this? Or were those quote unquote business trips? And if they were, if Dean Scott can be fired for doing what he did, or not fired, but forced to resign.
Bless him.
If that's an issue, CJ LeMasters, why aren't we looking at Chokwe going out of town every weekend? Were those quote unquote business trips, or were they personal trips? Was a city credit card used to pay for those flights? What was he doing in Atlanta as often as he was in Atlanta?
And to refresh everyone's recollection, here's the actual announcement of the settlement. It's a real quick video.
Years of skyrocketing water bills, people losing access to running water, and meter systems not working. The city of Jackson may have found an answer to their water billing crisis. Mayor Chokwe Antar Lumumba announced today the city of Jackson and Siemens legal team have reached a settlement in the ongoing battle of those newly installed water meters. 12 News' Alex Love has more.
Today, I am pleased to announce that we have recovered every penny that was taken from our community by the Siemens Corporation.
A message thousands of water customers in Jackson have waited years for, learning their city will be reimbursed for what led them into a water billing crisis.
We have settled with Siemens for the full amount of the contract, $89,800,627.
Since launching the lawsuit against Siemens last year,
the citizens of Jackson did not get back every penny.
No.
They had to give away $30 million of it to get it.
Absolutely not. I mean, and I don't know that I wonder what other cost is that just what the city, when they issued the bonds to pay Siemens, or not, they're not including all the costs that the residents went through of these water bills and, having to pay more than they owed and all that kind of stuff. I don't think that's including all that, as far as I know.
No, I'm with you. That just touched a nerve when it said that. Like, contraire, hold up.
Absolutely.
Mayor Lumumba accused the company of ripping off Jackson by charging almost double what new water meters would cost a city the size of Jackson.
Siemens and its subcontractors manipulated the minority contracting rules to inflate the cost of the city system. This was done through reselling meters in order to inflate their costs, so that middlemen line their pockets.
Money coming in from water bills would mainly be enterprise funds to help Jackson repave streets and fix other infrastructure projects. But when many homeowners received no bills or ones they couldn't afford, communities suffered.
These bad actors have fallen deaf to the plight of elderly men and women who come into City Hall seeking help as they make decisions between medication and paying their water bill. Families who have to make decisions between buying food or paying for their water bill.
With nearly $90 million back in the hands of the city, Mayor Lumumba plans to fix the meter and billing system and hold community meetings throughout Jackson to figure out the best option for the public when it comes to spending the money.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
And the company Siemens has fired back in the wake of this announcement by the mayor, telling us they strongly disagree with Mayor Lumumba's characterization of the contract and that he failed to acknowledge broader issues with the Jackson water and sewer system. They will not comment any further because, according to them, the settlement is not yet finalized.
Yeah, he mentioned on his last day in office or whatever that Valuamara Hall was going to be reopened. When do y'all think that will actually happen?
Kingfish is telling me December is what he said. So
yeah. Kingfish owes me an apology because I said it would not open under Lumumba again. No, it will.
Kingfish, you've been challenged to an apology.
I will say, just listening to Chokwe say the things that settlement, I believe, was in 2019. I think that's right. And this is so 3 years before the water debacle in August of 2022, when he was talking about, we're going to put the money into infrastructure repairs and we're going to put the money, in the water systems. And then the whole thing got blown the fuck open, 3 years later. Like, where did a lot of the Kingfish can explain this better than I can, but from what I remember, a lot of it was inadequate staffing at the plant, maintenance of the plant, not calibrating instruments, things that, could have been resolved with, I don't know, oversight and money, but that didn't happen. That money went somewhere else and we don't know where. And it seems like Judge Wingate's determined to find out where it went.
Well, to speak to Chris, and he asked, what does Clay expect Chief Wade to say about his boss at the time, which was the mayor? I mean, I think we want answers. I mean, because clearly Chief Wade is saying that he did have handcuffs. He couldn't do his job the way he felt he should have been able to. And we want to know why. And I think the public deserves to know that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. He's not your boss anymore,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us. I think as bad as it's been in Jackson, it is fair. You can be vague and tell people. I mean, what were we not giving speeding tickets anymore? I know we weren't doing pursuits. Like, are we allowed to do pursuits again? I mean, what weren't we doing? I'm going to find out. You can tell me, or I can find out and just do a lot of speculating on the radio.
I do know this, as far as just talking to law enforcement friends and bondsmen I deal with, I think that they had a policy where they weren't arresting people or holding people in jail for misdemeanors. That's one thing. I know that's a different thing. Were
they overcrowded, or what was the reason why for that?
I'm not exactly sure what the rationale was. That was definitely, it's usually a problem over there at the.
Sorry, but Steve Stokes has been a big person who's not wanted to have pursuits in Jackson. Like, you don't cross.
No, I'm talking about being arrested on misdemeanors. Yeah. I mean, like in other counties, the cases that we deal with, everybody's arrested and post a bond for a misdemeanor. That's very common anywhere else. But in Jackson, that doesn't seem to occur. That happens sometimes, like on a domestic violence, it will. But I think it may in a DUI. But other than that, they're just not going to hold you for a misdemeanor.
Yeah.
So that's policy is going to change. It's kind of that broken windows theories of prosecution.
I wonder if that started during COVID, because during COVID they wouldn't hold people because of COVID, and they didn't want to have the jails overcrowded. And I think a lot of things have not gotten back to normal post COVID.
Yeah, but they have in the Rankin Madison. It's working fine for that. Though.
But no, we've noticed recently that even in Madison County, you can't have family visitors, and ended during COVID.
Yeah,
things that happened, things that were implemented during COVID have not changed post COVID.
Yeah, but they're still arresting people and putting them in jail even on misdemeanors in those counties, and where they're not seem to be doing that in Hinds County or Jackson. So, I don't know. I think that policy, they're going to have to, they have a jail problem, obviously, that we've had for 20 years. It's an issue. And I know now they're talking about, we've all seen that they're going to construct this new jail. I don't know where they're going to get the money. I don't know where that's going to, Lindsay and I were trying a case in February at the Hinds County Courthouse, and they got these big, I don't know, what do you call them, poster boards with the designs in the middle of the courthouse of what the jails look like. And it's like this beautiful jail. I'm like, and I told Lindsay, I said, this will never get built. I think that, right? This is not going to get built.
I was getting all excited about it. Like, where is this going to be?
Well, I think they were going to put it by Henley Young in South Jackson is the plan. I think that's the plan right now, where the juvenile center is. And
I disagree with putting anything in South Jackson.
Well, Henley Young, like I said, I think they were just going to have it adjacent to that, or the land they've got there, which would have made it a lot more convenient than going out to Raymond and transporting people from Raymond to court and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's a pill.
That was a very dumb idea to put that jail all the way out there in Raymond. I think there was some shenanigans going on in 1994 when that was done, is what I've been told. So that's why
I was 10. I don't know.
Yeah, that's when it was built, and it was poorly constructed. At that point is what like everybody knew when they built that thing, it was messed up, and it's been messed up for the last 30 years. So.
All right, guys. Yeah. On again tonight.
Yep.
Anything?
We go longer every night.
Yeah. Well, I think we're too late for the Elon story at this point. We're 2 hours in. Maybe we can save that for tomorrow. There'll probably be more fallout.
Yeah, we touched on it a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I think it'll take longer because there's some things with if you go past 2 hours on these things, as far as like uploading and downloading and being able to create extra content out of it. So if we I can't load the YouTube thing into the Opus program for the link into Opus if it's longer than 2 hours.
All right, then we better.
We're right at it.
We better wrap it up.
Yeah, it'll save us some content for tomorrow night. Plus, it may unfold a little bit more, and I know I want to talk about it on the show tomorrow too. So I wasn't going to do the show tomorrow. I got this stymie. I thought it was pink eye, so I arranged Chip filling in the morning. But I think the sty is going down. I don't think it's pink eye now.
Have you had a BBL up in your face? Come on now, Clay.
No, the cat slept in the bed with me last night, and and I like to pet the cat and stuff.
That's why you wanted that BBL story.
And and I touched my eye this morning when I woke up, and I think it got infected immediately. So, I was in here looking at the comments on the on Podbean on my podcast or whatever. I was just looking at something, and Justin, I will end with this. Justin Fowler's mom, or I think this is mom.
You said we weren't talking about this anymore.
Well, I'll make an exception. When somebody posts something public, it's okay, I guess. Whoever Jimmy White is, I think that's his mom using a different name. Or it's his dad. I don't think it's his dad. It's his mom. Anyway, had commented under my thing about CJ LeMasters. And the only reason I know it's her profile or his profile or whatever is because they had commented under another thing talking about their son. Anyway, it says, you are the biggest fake news out there. I listened to 2 of your podcasts. You didn't have a clue what you were talking about. It is going to be proven in court. You are nothing but a flying monkey.
Flying monkey.
How about spend less time listening to my show and more time keeping your crazy son out of jail?
Yeah.
They just keep playing the victim. Like, I haven't seen the video of him whooping the shit out of his baby mama.
Yeah.
He is not a good person.
And we've gotten that story from other people who we won't name, but that aren't even involved in any of this, that just have told us other things.
This is not a good person. This is a crazy person who beats women.
And, this has already been reported by the news, and you mentioned it last night, so I'm not disclosing anything, but, we all know that he threatened Trey Spillman, who's the Rankin County prosecutor. And the thing to me, if you know Trey's like one of the nicest people you ever meet. There's like prosecutors you probably want to threaten. There's some I've met in my life. Yeah. I mean, trust me. That goes back a long way, but yeah. But he's the last guy that I would think want to do that, because he's just a really nice person. And so I'm thinking, man, Fowler's got to be really crazy if he's threatening Trey Spillman, because he's such a nice dude.
So. And he got charged with that, so it's not just, he got charged and he got not time suspended. I mean, he's been charged. He's out on parole or release, or
he is out. Is he out?
I mean, he's in jail right now again, but those charges, he went to jail, he pled on, and he is out on those. Like, he's free, but he's on a zero tolerance policy, whatever that's called, a controlled release, probation.
He's on supervised probation.
When does somebody step in and get some mental help for these people is what I want to know.
Yeah.
When it's very clear that they need it.
Well, I know he got sent to Region 8 after this last one for a mental eval, and the whole way over there, all he was doing was bitching about me and Trey, so he's still the victim. It's us, it's the system out to get him. And I just know that this is going to be something that's going to be a pain in my ass for the foreseeable future if he gets out of jail, but it is what it is. You take on a big boy job, you take on big boy responsibilities with it, and dealing with crazy people is big boy responsibility. And I ain't got no problem with it, but I just find it comical that, you wonder why parent your kids, quit being your kids' friends.
Absolutely.
Well, and I know one thing, a year from now, we'll be talking about some other crazy person doing time. Man, we will.
But to that point, it's so true. And like, my oldest daughter will text Shaun and want him to be her friend and get her out of stuff with me. And I'm like, no, because I don't want my children to end up in that kind of situation.
Yeah. I mean, because she's out here making excuses for him. And I'm imagining this is a lifelong ordeal of making excuses for him.
Yeah.
When I've been told, so I want to say allegedly here, because I would need to look at it, but I think he's been arrested for beating his mom's ass before.
Oh, God.
So I think that's one of his times he's been to jail, is for beating up on his mom. So again, I just can't take any of these people seriously. I mean, I take them seriously.
You also have to take them seriously, because like we've said, they show you they're crazy. You better believe it.
But they're not serious people when you dress up in referee jerseys and you run around and film videos at the sheriff's department and you do all this nonsense, blowing whistles and just do the stupid shit that they do. These are not serious people, but they may do dumb things that they feel so virtuous about that. You know what I'm saying? It's like
they're the ones who are scary. They're scary people.
Yeah. Like they feel like they are virtuous and that they are doing what's right by them, and that surely somebody's going to see all this and put the same crazy puzzle together that they putting together in their head, that everybody's out to get them.
Yeah,
and somebody will understand.
Because God forbid somebody accidentally ever charges you $2. I mean,
the Natalie Stevens thing, the Mocha Mugs deal. I mean, there's just a lot of crazy people out there, and I'm convinced that it comes from over medicating people when they're kids, and you get people hooked to SSRIs and Adderall and all this stuff at a young age. And look, there's a place for all those drugs here and there. I'm not sitting there saying there ain't, but there's a point where it's got to cause so much chemical imbalance. I know that legally, technically, chemical imbalance isn't really a thing, but all these pills make people screwed up. when they take too many and they take them for too long and they're combining too many things, and it causes these people to lose their ever-loving minds. And I think that's what you're seeing here. And then you actually mix in a real problem like paranoid schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and you're just piling all these substances on top of it. It ain't good.
Well, I think as a parent with young children, I think that the majority of parents today cater to their children, and they're all about your feelings. And we've put so many kids in therapy and put them on medication, and it's caused this generation of children who believe that they're always right, and they believe they're afforded something that they're not, that they shouldn't have to work for anything. They should just be given anything because they feel a certain way. Well, you know what? Life's hard. Get a helmet. I mean, put on your big girl panties and deal with it. It's not always easy. And that's not to say that some kids don't need therapy and some people don't need antidepressants. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's just been way overdone. And we've caused this culture of kids who always believe that they're the victim.
Yeah. Quit blaming your son being in jail on other people. Your son's in jail because he did some dumb shit.
Yeah.
That's why your son is in jail. It's nobody's spreading lies. It's not misinformation. It's none of that. It's why he's been in jail. This is, I think, his 15th time as a visitor in the Rankin County jail.
You must like it there, huh?
That's what we call a trend.
Yeah.
That's a clue. That's a lifestyle choice. And that's not the system out to get him.
No.
He ain't, the goon squad went to jail, and he ain't quit going with them.
The goon squad is not out for him.
No, I mean he's convinced he has goon squad derangement syndrome because they think if they're able to pin their problems, the goon squad did this to me. Everything they did wasn't wrong.
Maybe that would have been useful. Excuse me. That would have been a useful of their services to deal with him. Maybe he could have used.
I hate to even say that, but I mean it's kind of true.
He could have used a nutcracker being melted to his leg or something.
Okay.
that might have been good for him. I mean, sometimes crazy people got to do that. You got to melt nutcrackers to their legs.
I don't know that that's necessarily true.
Not saying what the goon squad did to people that were not crazy.
That was awful.
I know, obviously it is. I'm kidding, but some people,
there's an acceptable gray area.
Yeah, there's some people that that could use some goon squatting, like Justin Fowler. It seems like he could have used it.
Allegedly,
there's an acceptable gray area in my opinion, and it's what's kept society in check. And you see what happens in cities like Jackson, where it's like a reverse gray area in Jackson. It's enforcing the law became the gray area.
Yeah.
Versus over enforcing it. If that makes sense. It's like, just, don't do shit and let's see what happens.
Mm-hmm. And
you realize real quick that people got to be policed. Even the best of people need to be policed because the lack of consequences creates a different mindset of how you live your life. I can get away with that. Then you had the people like Shaun says, like white people who think that they're just blown away anytime their kids have to go to jail. And that's because of a lack of consequences growing up. Just because they're white doesn't mean their asses don't have to go to jail if they break the law. You are not afforded freedom from consequence.
But Clay, I also want to put this kind of back on our justice system. A lot of women aren't taken seriously when they report domestic violence, and these men are out there walking. I know so many of them.
Well, it's because so many women report fake.
Yeah, but
and it gets hard to take a lot of it serious. And I understand. I mean, domestic violence is very real, and I don't want to downplay it at all. But I bet you it is. I don't know. This is just speculating on my part. I bet you it's 50-50 real and fake.
But Clay, when you're not taken seriously, and then you actually have to become dead or be killed for someone to understand that that's what's happening.
There's also another problem, and you and I have discussed that before with domestic violence cases. Yes, that happens.
It's a real problem.
About them not taking it seriously, for sure, 100% that happens. Another happens though, and I've been on the prosecution end of this many times, is when the women don't want to prosecute the guy. And that happens a lot. Like I've told Lindsay this example Where one time a woman came into my office, over 10 years ago, and her boyfriend had set her on fire. Literally set her on fire. She showed up in my office with her arms all bandaged up.
But by that point, that man had her so beat down that she felt like she didn't deserve anything else other than him. It's a mental thing too.
Right. But so she was begging me to drop the case against the boyfriend. The boyfriend for setting her on fire, which of course I would not do. But that happens a lot. We saw that in the Martis case with his wife, was trying to get them to drop the case against him. That one that came.
That was horrible.
So that is an issue too. And I'm not trying to blame the women or anything. But it's the nature of domestic cases when things like that happen.
Yeah, well, it's sad. I hate it. Look, I've been on the receiving end been in a violently domestic relationship about 15 years or so ago. The girl I dated got arrested twice for assaulting me. And and this was at a time where I was living on the edge, and I didn't go to jail either time, if that tells you just how bad it was.
Wow.
So I am sensitive to the domestic violence thing. I am. She was an idiot and did it in front of cops 2 different times, and she never learned the lesson of when the cops show up, shut your mouth.
Yeah.
And she went to jail twice.
I'll tell you that I think the whole Me Too movement just set us back even further, because it made so many women be able to make claims or feel like they could make claims and be taken seriously when really it just hurts you, because the serious claims aren't taken seriously anymore.
Yeah. I guess I feel like that, what do you have to see for it to obviously be a serious claim? Does there have to be blood? I could tell some stories of women threatening to throw themselves against a wall and call the cops.
Mm-hmm.
But then there are women who have called the cops and they're not doing anything to protect them. And there are women who have gotten away from a man, and there's a piece of paper doesn't do anything when there's a psychopath. A restraining order does nothing. And when cops don't believe this woman has been actually abused, they don't do anything to help her, then she feels like she has no backup system. there's nothing to help her.
Yeah.
That's why you suppress charges the first time and follow through with them. And that's every situation is different, but at some point some accountability has to fall back on the woman if she keeps going back into the situation.
But what about the accountability for the cops, Clay? What about the accountability when look, I'm put my personal business out there, but I have made many claims about a certain person who was stalking me behind my house numerous times, and I'd gotten them trying to get the sheriff involved in Madison County, and he wouldn't help me. And when your life is being threatened and nobody will believe you, it's difficult.
I will say this though to that.
Stalking laws are unfortunately very weak around here.
A lot of the problem though is, I hate blaming the women, and I agree with what you're saying, Lindsay. That does happen a lot.
It happens a whole lot.
But what I've seen being in this for as long as I have is you see a woman forget, because they're in a relationship and the guy has beat her up, and this is even just a misdemeanor level. I'm only talking about when you get to the felony level, like an aggravated domestic violence, and they will dismiss the case and they go back to him. And the thing is, and I've tried to explain this to so many female victims that I've dealt with, and I cannot tell you how many I've dealt with.
That's because that woman has been emotionally abused as well.
I understand that, but I'm saying what I'm trying to get through is I've said, look, he's not going to get better. When you get to the point where you're beating your girlfriend or your spouse, you've just crossed the Rubicon. You're not healing from that. You are just that kind, and once that happens, there is no, he's going to change. And I've seen it, and I've explained this to Lindsay. I've seen it so many times when I'm sitting across the table from a woman's family because she's dead because of this. And I've prosecuted these guys. The documentary that I'm on is about this exact situation. The Hulu documentary.
The girl that got killed on the coast by the crazy guy that bonded out in Nashville and came down and killed her.
And we literally just have that on our topic to talk about on the show, because that one kills me.
How many times did she get back with him before?
Tons.
Yeah. But she didn't deserve that.
No, nobody deserves it, but I'm just saying, but don't get back with the guy. There's got to be
Heather Spencer. I'm sure
it's going to change.
I'm sure you remember Heather Spencer.
Yeah. Look, just women got to understand if a guy's beating your ass, that's a red flag. Don't blow through that.
Yeah, and that there needs.
That's it's difficult.
There needs to be, I don't know if there's a governmental solution to this, probably not. I don't know what.
I think there is. I think you keep them apart. You have to be able to keep them apart longer, because women they're so beaten down at that point that mentally they think they have.
Some of these happen early on in relationships.
Early on,
get back with them, and they're not beaten down yet. They're thinking, oh, he just got drunk, and it's it's not really who he is, and they're ignoring
that. Those men also can be very convincing.
But that's the thing, though, that I think what I'm trying to say is that there needs to be some way to educate women, and like the minute he's hitting you, the relationship is over. It's over. There's no coming back from that situation, because it's not going to get better. It's going to exacerbate into you getting the shit beat out of you constantly, and or you dying. And I said, I get real passionate about this because I've seen it so many times, had to deal with it, and had these conversations with women that were living, and I would show them examples of the women that were not living, and it's just it never changes to where like he whips your ass. And then all of a sudden he has an epiphany and says, I'm no longer going to whip her ass anymore. That never happens.
We've also seen so many situations where women are not protected when they do want to get away. They're not protected, and it ends up catastrophic.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I'm not saying that doesn't happen either.
That does happen.
But there's a core thing of where I think, women have to understand that the first beating is not going to be the last. And
I mean, we can go round and round and round about this all night. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to take some accountability and get out of a situation when it starts to get bad.
Mm-hmm.
You got to figure out somewhere to go. There's battered women's shelters. Ain't enough of them. It's something I've talked about. But I mean, at the end of the day, almost everybody has somebody they can go to, has somewhere they can go. And you've got to just do that. It's tough. It is tough getting out of a situation when you love somebody and they're telling you they're going to do right. But I'm telling you, people do what they can get away with. And if a guy,
I think men and women are so different.
He's not going to quit. I mean, he's like, I know what I can get away with. I can beat her ass, so I can do anything.
And do it again. And they do. And it never stops.
But men or women, they're so different. They just feel so differently. I just see a woman's perspective in this, and it's.
I mean, what could the woman's perspective be if she's getting her ass beat?
Yeah.
I mean, what could the perspective be? I don't want to get my ass beat no more. I need to get out of this.
Well, especially if there are children involved and you feel like, I love this person. He's not always this person. He's a good person. Most of the time, 99% of the time. And, you just want to believe. I just see I see how women go back. And I also see that law enforcement doesn't a lot of times believe these women.
But I think a lot of times, Lindsay, the reason they don't believe is because they go back, and that's a lot of the issue. As much as.
But does that mean they deserve to be in that position?
No one's saying they deserve it. What I'm saying is they end up going back so much because I've been in that position where having to deal with that so much. You're just like, okay.
What about the women who leave and need the protection?
Well, they
won't give it to them.
Well, I don't know, but I mean, they should.
The women who finally walk away and say, "Hey, I can't do this anymore," but yet they don't have any protection from law enforcement because they're a joke now.
Then
they end up dead.
I mean, what kind of protection are they supposed to provide?
I don't know. Just make sure there's somebody watching over you. I don't know. When there's somebody,
they can't assign cops to every girl that gets out of a bad situation. I mean, you got to call 911,
and then you end up there's a life check. But when they won't listen,
do a better job.
Somebody ends up dead. Do what?
Do a better job at picking men at the end of the day. I mean,
I know come on now. That's not. Come on now. That's not fair. That's not fair. That is not fair. Sometimes people think they're making good decisions and they don't until later realize.
Yeah, but I mean, I think after the first beating, you're like, this was a bad decision. And I think at that point, don't you?
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on how soon it is into it. I guess we're going to some room for debate there. Well, we own a house together. We live together. We've been together 10 years. Our lives are so interconnected. I can't just leave. I understand that, but most of the times it happens way sooner than that far into it. And most of the time you're not even living together. You're just dating. And Johnny whoops your ass, and you go back to him. You don't deserve the second ass whooping, but it shouldn't be a shocker when it happens.
Well, I'm just telling you, there is a guy that I dated for about 2 weeks out there who has for the last 15 years threatened my life. And He's in jail right now, but when he gets out, he'll do it again. And I've never been taken seriously on that, ever.
Well, I mean,
there's sometimes that women are telling the truth and they need reinforcement.
That's what that Second Amendment exists. And this is a state that allows you to use it. And I know that's a drastic thing and that's an easy thing for me to say, but at the end of the day, the drastic measures call for drastic solutions. All right. Love y'all. I got to get up early in the morning.
Right. We're at 2 hours and 18 minutes. So, all right. Good night, everybody. We'll see you on the air tomorrow at 12. Clay, see you at 7.
All right. Peace out. Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.